Welcome in on this primary runoff election day. It is just after 7:30 on this Tuesday. Welcome into our live coverage here on KSAT Plus.
We got a lot going on this evening. Primary election results you'll see there in the corner of your screen. We also have our weather team here in the studio keeping tabs on some storms in and around San Antonio. So we'll hear from them coming up in just a bit as needed throughout the evening. We want to welcome in our panelists that we are joined here by for our election night live stream. We have DeMonte Alexander, CEO of Citizen Reach. We have Kevin Wolf, the former Bexar County Precinct 3 Commissioner. Always appreciate your time here on election night.
Thank you.
It's not election night coverage without you guys.
There you go.
That was the deal. We said we wouldn't come on the air unless you guys were here. So we appreciate that. And we'll check in with them in just a little bit, get their initial thoughts as we're just getting underway here. And I'm sure no doubt they'll have an opinion or two on the Cornyn-Paxton Senate race.
Yeah, that's where we're going to begin. This is definitely one of the most hotly contested races and one to watch tonight. We're going to get to our Courtney Friedman, who has been covering this race for us back in March when it began as the primary. Now we're in the primary runoff. Cornyn versus Paxton. We have some initial numbers, Courtney, and they're pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, they really are. We've been waiting to see what this was going to look like. A lot of votes have already come through, 63% Paxton to Cornyn's 37%. Now, this was assumed to have been a close race, but then again, like we've been talking about for a full week now, the president gave an endorsement to Paxton last minute. He said months ago that he would endorse someone, expect the other person to drop out. Of course, during that endorsement, he no longer asked Cornyn to drop out. And as we can see, he stayed on the ballot. But we can't tell really whether this is because of the endorsement or Paxton would have been ahead before. But if you remember, Cornyn edged him out in the primaries when Wesley Hunt was knocked out and we went to this runoff. So two really big dogs fighting this out. This has been very contentious. We've talked about, you've seen the ads. We were even getting press releases up until the polls closed today. So this is a big deal to see this big of a gap in between those votes. Of course, there's only about 45 or a little bit more % of the counties that are counted. So as we know on election nights and especially contentious races like this can always change. But this is a bigger lead, I think, than Cornyn's team expected Paxton to have at this point.
Yeah, Courtney, I believe we're taking a look at those statewide numbers just to give people a point of reference. We do have Bexar County early vote totals at this point. Ken Paxton with still a very sizable lead here in Bexar County, 59% to John Cornyn's 41%. We'll check back in with you momentarily as we see these numbers change. I want to bring in our panelists because this is one of the races we had a chance to talk about before we got started here in our live stream. And you guys had pretty quick reactions to it. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I anticipated it being closer than this. I did anticipate Paxton carrying it, but this is by a much bigger margin than anticipated. I'm not sure, we were kind of talking about this back there, if I were the Republicans, I might rather run against a Paxton than a Cornyn, because one can be attacked much more effectively than the other. But then, of course, we sidelined right into, do people pay attention to attack ads as much as they used to? Or have they just become, immune to it and say, oh, that's fake news?
Are they election white noise? You're going to hear it no matter what.
Yes, you're going to hear it. So logic would tell me, no, if I'm a Democrat, I want to run against a Paxton rather than a Cornyn. We'll see how that turns out. And that's going to be really interesting because if Talarico can pull it off, that'll be the first time in, 30 some odd years that a Democrat has been elected statewide.
Yeah, I always thought that this would determine where Trump's support went to. Although it came late, I do feel that there may have been some underneath help before it was announced publicly. Yeah. But I was more interested in how his support impacted the race and what indications that has moving forward. What I did see is that, Collin County, his home base, smaller ex-suburban areas, and even Tarrant County, that's been huge over the last few years in terms of their impact on the elections. They also supported Paxton as well. And so to the point that their colleagues made earlier is it's not so much who wins, it's why they won. It's what I'm more interested in. And what I'm seeing is he's winning these key areas, along with the endorsement by President Trump, has kind of helped him out on the back end of the race.
Yeah, and as you all mentioned, the winner of this one will face James Tallarico coming up in November.
All right, and we'll get back to our panel in a little bit to find out more about just the impact the presidential endorsement has and kind of just continue to crunch these numbers here. We want to come back to locally here, Bexar County District Attorney. It's obviously a local race, but another one that has gotten a lot of attention on the Democratic side.
There were so many Democratic candidates in the primary back in March. Now it's been whittled down to 2. So we have Luz Elena Chapa and Jane Davis running on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, the winner of this one will face Ashley Foster, who is running as the Republican. We're going to go to Erica Hernandez covering this race for us. I believe she is with Luz Elena Chapa at her watch party. Anyway, Erica, we saw the numbers just a minute ago. Early vote results very close.
Yeah, Myra, this one is still so close. I think it's only just a little over 800 votes that separates Jane Davis and Luz Elena Chapa right now, with Jane Davis in the early lead with those early voting numbers. Now, this has been a pretty contentious race, as the Davis campaign has touted that Chapa doesn't have the experience for the job, while the Chapa campaign says an outsider is needed to fix the problems that are currently in the district's attorney's office. So seeing those numbers, you could tell that I think a lot of people were still a little undecided and which way they were going to go. A lot of voters we spoke to last week when we spoke to both women still were undecided on which way they would go. If you remember back in March, there was 8 candidates running for the seat after Joe Gonzalez said last year that he wasn't going to be seeking re-election. There was a lot of candidates to get to know, and they got a chance to try to know Jane Davis and Luz Elena Chapa. We're here right now at her campaign party. We're still waiting for her to arrive so we can speak to her about these early numbers and how she hopes the rest of the night will go. And then we'll head off to the Jane Davis campaign to speak to her as well. Right now, those early voting numbers again, Myra, right now, Jane Davis in the lead against Luz Elena Chapa by a little more than 800 votes. Myra?
So very close. And of course, to kind of catch everybody up who may not have been following this race so closely, Luz Elena Chapa, a former appellate judge, Jane Davis, she has worked in the current DA's office for quite some time. And of course, Joe Gonzalez, the current DA who is not running for re-election, has really been facing criticism for the last couple of years. She runs Jane Davis there, the head of the juvenile division in the DA's office.
Okay, we'll get to the panel in a moment. We're going to bounce around now to take you to U.S. Representative for District 35, which has contests on both sides, Republican and Democratic. Arzaria Oates is covering that for us this evening and continues our coverage here. So there are, look at the, well, we had the numbers there. So you have Johnny Garcia and Maureen Galindo on one side of the ticket. And then Zaria, let's find out exactly where Zaria is and to bring us up to date on what you're seeing so far, Zaria.
Hey guys, we're at a bar on the south side at Johnny Garcia's watch party here. If you don't know much about this race, this is U.S. Congressional District 35. Johnny Garcia and Maureen Galindo are both Democrats in this runoff. And then there's also a runoff on the Republican side with John Lujan, who was the state rep for District 118. And then Carlos de la Cruz, who has not held a public office like this before, but he was endorsed by President Donald Trump, whereas Lujan was endorsed by Governor Greg Abbott, a split on the Republican side there in terms of endorsements. Here, Johnny Garcia and Maureen Galindo have had kind of a feisty ending to this race with those anti-Semitic comments that people have been speaking about online in terms of what Maureen Galindo had been posting. And therefore, last week, the Democrats in Texas had kind of distanced themselves, saying that they don't agree with the messages that she's been posting, regardless of her being a Democrat. And that's going to be a really significant factor here. And if Johnny Garcia continues with this lead right now, he's ahead. He's got 59% of the vote. It is still very early in this race. We're at his watch party here. You can kind of see some of the people already here. It's only been going on for just about an hour, and I'd say there's anywhere from 60 to 70 people. Lots of public figures in the house as well. We've got Edward Munguia, one of our city council members here. We've also got We've also got the sheriff here tonight. night. And so that was one of his big endorsements, Johnny Garcia's, this election cycle. Now, we are anticipating these to be some kind of close races, but again, as I was mentioning, those comments from Maureen Galindo kind of set them apart in this last week or so in terms of early voting and then also on Election Day. As we work to learn more about these numbers and how they'll develop throughout the night, we'll be at this watch party and we'll kind of hustle over to some other ones, but we'll see how the night goes and then we'll update you on U.S. Congressional District 35. Live on the South Side, I'm Zaria Oates, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Zaria, thank you so much. As you heard her mention, this is a runoff on both sides. We have runoffs for the Democrats as well as the Republicans for this new District 35, newly created because of redrawn lines in the state. I want to bring in DeMonte and Kevin on this because Zaria touched on it, that sort of bizarre tone that this race took in the last couple of weeks, even U.S. reps out of New York and Florida saying that if Maureen Galindo was elected, they wanted to expel her and wouldn't really join it. I mean, do you feel like that played a big role because of how late all of that seemed to begin once voting was so close?
I think it certainly played a role in the amount of the spread. I think things would have been closer had that not taken place. It never ceases to amaze me in our world today how quickly that information gets out there and how quickly people make judgment. And so, depending upon at what point in the time frame did you vote, could be all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
If you voted late in the early voting, maybe you started to swing away from someone you thought you liked. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it certainly had something to do with the spread. I don't know that it was the end all be all.
All right.
Yeah, I think this race had a lot of dynamics to it. I mean, you even had conservative influence, a mysterious lead left PAC who's invested $900,000 into ads for Galindo because they want to promote the weaker candidate.
Right.
So there's a lot of dynamics that go into where they ended up today. But I think I always thought, because when you saw after the general election, most of the candidates were around 18 to 20, between 18 and 24%. And as a strategist, you would always want to say after the general election, okay, well, how can I have coffee, sit down, have lunches with which coalitions can I bring over to our team? And I always thought it was going to be a battle between that. But so much outside influence in this race as well, it's kind of difficult to tell what tilts the needle.
Right. All right, we're going to stop it right there, give you guys a moment to catch your breath. We do have the weather radar on the bottom of the screen, and we're going to actually send it over to our Weather Authority meteorologist, Adam Caskey. Just in the last couple of moments, we've had some significant weather developments as it relates to the severe weather, so we're going to send it over to Adam here in the studio.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, thank you, Ernie, and everybody. You can see how there's a lot of storm activity out there. None of it's over San Antonio right now, but there's a potential west of town of wind gusts of 70 to 80 miles per hour. Now, that's just east of Uvalde. And that's these western storms. Of most importance right now is the new tornado warning that we have in Atascosa County, and this includes the city of Jourdanton. So I'm going to get over there to the wall. Just give me 1 second, activate my computers here, and I'll show you where the potential tornado Doppler radar indicated. This is not something that's actually been witnessed to have touched the ground. All it takes is a Doppler radar indicated to create the warning. And it's this southern end of this thunderstorm. And this is the same supercell we've been tracking since about 3:30 p.m. This is just the storm that won't stop. It's a unique situation. And we do have our storm chaser out there. You can see right here, Justin Horn near Jourdanton. But I want to show you where the potential tornado is. That's where you see this little hook right here. Within that hook echo is where you get the rotation right there. And that's where we could potentially have the tornado that then would be slowly tracking to the north and east. Slowly track. So if you're in Jourdanton, Charlotte, you're on the back side of this, okay? But Jourdanton, you're basically in the line of the direction of where the storm is going. So if you're in Jourdanton, interior room, lowest level, put as many walls between you and outside as you can and away from windows. Usually it's a closet, some kind of interior coat closet, usually the best situation. If you have a basement, obviously that would be even better. But I want to show you the signature that we watch here for this potential tornado. And that's where the green and red come together right here. And this is the area where we have the circulation and the chance for a tornado that's headed to the northeast toward Jourdanton. So anybody in and around Jourdanton, you need to seek shelter immediately. Interior room, again, closet often works best. Sometimes if you have a multi-level home, underneath the stairs that go to the upstairs can be another, to the second floor. That could be another good spot. And you see this warning continuing to get, the warnings off to the west continuing to get moved eastward as well. So there's also a lot of heavy rainfall and, of course, high winds within these severe storms that are off to the west. So this whole yellow area is the newest severe thunderstorm warning that goes from Hondo to Devine, Pearsall, Dilley, and that's for this Boeing segment of the thunderstorm.
And Adam, that new severe thunderstorm warning for the Boeing segment is for up to 70-mile-per-hour winds along that entire line.
So up to 70-mile-per-hour gusts along this line. As this is organized and comes together at the Boeing segments, and we also look at these notches. Sometimes those notches can give you a brief spin up, but this new yellow polygon is for the potential of 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And this whole line here is basically moving eastward at 25. Now, it's not near San Antonio yet, but we are expecting some activity as the evening goes on. Here, I'm going to put some communities downstream of this, and Sabinal by about 7:53 would be the onset. And in this situation, the highest winds should be right as the storm hits, very early as the storm hits. Dilley at 8:21 p.m., Hilltop 8:22, Yancey 8:26, Derby by 8:32, Hondo 8:36, Mellon by 8:41, Frio Heights, Colonia, 8:42, and North Pearsall, 8:42. That's the onset time of this thunderstorm, and the worst part of it is basically the leading edge of this storm. This entire segment right here, from Concan all the way down to Carrizo Springs, that's the strongest part of the storm that's pushing eastward. And we're going to have to track this as it heads towards San Antonio. Arrival time would be during the 8 o'clock hour, basically. I can actually, assuming this part of the storm would make it to San Antonio, Alamo Ranch would get it by, well, probably 9:41. That says, I think it'd be even earlier than that. We have to update the storm motion in our system here. Otherwise, we have the tornado warning down to the south, and that's where our Justin Horn is. We can go to Justin Horn at any time here, his feed. He's been down here with this thunderstorm, just a little thunderstorm that just won't stop. It's been cycling, pulsing up, weakening, pulsing up, and weakening. And Justin, I assume you're headed south trying to get to this, if you can hear us, you're headed south trying to get to the area of circulation. You have some rain there, but you're also about to get out of the rain shield and where you may have a better view off to the west of the potential circulation. Because here's the storm chaser right here. They're headed south, I believe, and then they'd get out of the rain shield, and then he could look westward to this little notch, that little curving area. That's where the tornado could be. That's where we would have a tornado if there is one. All right, Justin, what's the latest? I see you guys pulled over. Can you hear me? Can you give me an update on this storm? All right, he's having some audio issues. Sometimes when you get into the rural parts of these outlying counties, sometimes the signal can go in and out. And I think that might be the issue that we're having. But they pulled over, and they're not moving now, so they're probably just waiting to see as this section moves eastward. This section just outside of Jourdanton, there it is, La Parita, Dobrovolsky. Yeah, these are these little communities that really only this computer system sometimes knows of. Anyway, this is the area of concern that's headed toward Jourdanton, and they're basically here to keep an eye on it, to watch it, and once we get his audio back, we'll let you know. For those of you on air on KSAT 12, you can follow us on the KSAT Weather Authority app, KSAT.com, and KSAT Plus, where we have our election coverage and also our storm coverage. Okay, so you can follow us there and know that that's where we are when we cut back to regular programming on KSAT 12. But other than this tornado warning, it's the line of high winds up to 70 miles per hour off to the west that are headed eastward and could pose a risk to San Antonio as this moves in, especially as we see new development along this line between Concan and Comfort. I'm going to put this into motion, and you'll see how the radar fills in a bit, what we call fills in, right here, Kendall County, eastern Kerr County. You see the cluster of storms starting to congeal right there and organize. It's once they do that they can sometimes start bowing out. So it wouldn't surprise me if this area from about Sisterdale to Comfort, Kerrville, southward to Bandera and Tarpley, and then all the way down to Hondo would even organize and come together a little bit more as it all moves through San Antonio. So this is what we're watching right now. Again, KSAT 12. We're headed back to programming. We're keeping a close eye on this. Anybody in Pleasanton, or I should say Jourdanton more than anything. Jourdanton, you need to be in your interior room, away from windows, especially in interior closet. That's often the best place to be in terms of the potential for a tornado. There's been nothing spotted. It's just Doppler radar indicated, which is enough to then potentially have a touchdown. Even if it's a brief touchdown, it's enough to give us a potential touchdown. Looking at the shear rates within this storm, you see this green area? That's where we've been talking about for the rotation, and that's where our shear has really picked up here just over the past 15, 30 minutes or so. Another thing we're looking at is hail within this thunderstorm, and not just hail, but I want to look at the evolution of the hail over the past few hours here. Put this into motion for you. And this also has some large hail associated with it, and at least quarter size hail, potentially hail up to the size of ping pong balls, golf balls, and maybe even some egg size hail. But this is the hail swath over the past couple of hours, and it just keeps chugging along and just keeps going. Now it will cycle through, and sometimes it'll strengthen, then it'll weaken, strengthen, and weaken, and that's a pattern that we'll see within all thunderstorms like this, basically. This single supercell that's south of San Antonio, this one won't hit San Antonio, but Pleasanton, you need to be ready for it. Poteet, you're on the edge of it. Jourdanton, you're basically in the firing line of this Doppler radar indicated tornado. That's a tighter circulation that's been noted within the specific part of the thunderstorm. And this tornado warning goes until 8:30 p.m. for Atascosa County. Again, this isn't moving much. It's moving eastward very slowly. Yep.
If I may, Justin.
Okay, hold on. Can we take her mic?
Traffic. I'm on traffic.
Oh, traffic mic. Spivey's on the traffic mic, by the way.
Justin is suggesting take a shot. Justin.
Yeah, let's take Justin's shot. Yeah. Let's take a shot. Take Justin's shot right away. Let's do it. Okay, working on. Oh yeah.
Look at that.
There we go.
See that.
Yeah, he got in that. He got out of the rain shaft, and now out of that rain curtain, and now you can see what could be a precursor. I don't see a touchdown.
Potential wall cloud, though.
Yeah,
There.
which would be a precursor to.
It's basically a rotating part of the storm that is lower to the ground. And
It's just not touching the ground yet.
exactly. You start to look for that.
That's a clear indication of what happens before you can get a touchdown. But
Although it does look like they dropped the tornado warning for
Yeah.
Atascosa, even though we've got a clear wall cloud. But that being said, not every wall cloud produces a tornado.
No, a lot of them don't, actually. So, okay, Justin, thanks for that shot. We're going to go ahead to regular programming on KSAT 12. You can follow us on the Weather Authority app, KSAT.com, KSAT Plus, for all the other storms. And this is what we've been waiting on, too, was the flash flood warning for Atascosa County. That's not all of Atascosa County. That's this green area from Jourdanton to Charlotte and southward. They've had upwards of 4.5 inches of rain in a short period of time. And so the flash flood warning is in effect until 11 p.m. That's this green polygon here. Again, Charlotte to Pleasanton and southward almost to the county line. The other thing that we're watching here is, of course, this line of strong thunderstorms that's headed eastward and making its way into now Medina County and also Frio County, the leading edge of it with the strongest winds. Changing radar sites so we get a better view of this storm. Bowing segments are often where we have the highest winds. So I'm going to switch it over just to our wind factor here, and that little kind of nose that sticks out, this little nose that sticks out, those should be some of our highest wind gusts. Going over to our wind detector, and yes, this whole purple area, 70 mile per hour gusts possible moving into Sabinal, southward, all the way down into Frio County. Batesville, you're on the backside of it. I know you still have heavy rain, but you're on the backside of the wind threat. And it's really right here, this leading edge where the greens, reds, and purples come together. And I'm not sure what our ETA is set to here, so let me do this. Let me do this first. This is for the high winds.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. We'll do it that way. For the highest winds, the onset of the high winds, and it's really right at the beginning of the storm, would be Yancey at 8:28 p.m., West Pearsall at 8:35, North Pearsall at 8:36, Moore by 8:41, Hondo by 8:47, and Devine by 8:59 p.m. Bigfoot shortly thereafter, of course, at 9:01 p.m. And that would be for the high winds right at the beginning of that thunderstorm. And even southward down the line, some potentially 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. But it's really this purple area that we're watching closely. And there's a lot on the screen, a lot flashing here. Let's turn that off just so you can see what we're talking about and we don't have all the other noise on the screen. And play this out here over the past hour. And one thing that we're noticing is you see more purple and orange pop up here, okay? Those colors indicate higher wind gusts and straight line winds. This isn't a rotation, this is a straight line wind. But keep in mind, straight line winds can often be more damaging than small tornadoes, okay? So straight line winds is the threat here. And some of those high winds have now, instead of being south of Highway 90, have spread northward along Highway 90, Sabinal. So D'Hanis, you're right down the line, followed by Hondo. Hondo a little before 9 p.m. What was that? We timed that out here. Let me do this. Yeah, Hondo 8:48 p.m. So Hondo a little before 9 o'clock. But an hour away, just less than an hour away from Hondo. So everybody within the warned areas, just stay inside, be indoors. Not the time to go out. The hail there could be some hail embedded within this, but the primary threat is high winds. So this isn't the kind of situation where you necessarily need to, run outside and go cover the vehicle, go move it. We don't see any significant hail signatures within this thunderstorm. This is a wind threat. Whenever these storms turn linear, more of a line, then they typically turn into a wind threat more than anything. And that's what we're seeing with this line of storms that's moving east, is that linear kind of development and organization. So now it's a north-south line with the bowing segments, and those bowing segments, some of the strongest parts. So assuming that would make it to San Antonio, let's see, assuming that part of it, make it to Alamo Ranch. I got to change the ETA on this stuff, but put it to 26. I got to step off, deactivate the tracker.
26, you said?
Yep.
That's only one.
Oh, it's the same then? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Yeah. All right, we're good? There we go. All right, so the west side of San Antonio, assuming that part of the storm would make it, Alamo Ranch, you'd have it by 9:38 p.m. If this part holds together and makes it to, say, the south side at 4:10 and 37, it would be at 10:21 p.m., that part of the storm. So this is some real deal wind that we're watching here. And so far, we don't have any reports of high winds yet along it. These reports are from the thunderstorm earlier, the ones near Pearsall. We do have one report here of wind in Uvalde. Wind damage, 2-inch diameter branches down in the city of Uvalde. That was when the worst part of that storm, this really came together just west of Uvalde and then pushed through. So 2.5-inch diameter. That's about, if you take the coins, quarters, right? Those coins, quarters, it'd be 2.5 of those basically next to each other. That's how thick the diameter of the branches were that were taken down. So this can definitely cause some damage. Even carports, can be lifted with these kind of winds. Trampolines are notorious for even winds less than this. It's stuff like that. It's, lawn furniture, the umbrellas outside, that kind of stuff. And sometimes even sheds and barns and whatnot can be damaged by these kinds of winds, gusting up to 70 miles per hour. We're not forgetting some of this action here, this cluster that's been coming together in parts of the hill country. It's a big light show right now from Kerrville to Comfort, but that's all it really is with heavy rainfall. Street flooding and, potentially impacted travel, road travel, would be the primary threat here and primary risk with this part of the thunderstorms off to the north. So that's what we have right now. We're going to go back to the Weather Center, get regrouped, and we're going to take a quick break and be right back for you.
Welcome back to our primary runoff election night coverage / weather hybrid live stream here. We appreciate our weather team stepping in and keeping everybody informed as they need to, and we'll probably hear from them again during this live stream. But we do have a bit of breaking election news on one of the biggest races of the night. Yeah, pretty significant projection coming in while Adam was doing the weather a short time ago, and it does involve the Cornyn-Paxton race. So let's go right back to Courtney Friedman. Now, you've been following this race literally for months and can bring us up to speed on what was just announced.
Yeah, huge news. It's only 8 p.m. and the AP, followed by Governor Greg Abbott, has declared the race for Ken Paxton. So it's very early in the game, but already 73% of the votes are in, and it has remained at 63% to John Cornyn's almost 37. So this is a huge, huge deal because a lot of experts, as our panelists said, as I have said in interviews that I've done in the last few months, thought it would be way, way closer than this. Of course, that late endorsement from President Donald Trump came in just a week ago, one day into early voting. So it'll be interesting to see if the experts think this played a role in this. However, this has been the most expensive primary race in history. $110 million of advertising has gone into this, the far majority by John Cornyn, and that includes Democrats and Republicans. There was $64 million spent in just the original primary before the runoff. So, I mean, we are talking massive dollars, massive support that Cornyn had racked up. He took the primary just by a couple points, obviously forced into this runoff. But this is very, very interesting. And I think a lot of people did not see this coming for it to be called this early. So the governor just took to social media and is calling it for Ken Paxton, and that is shortly after 8 o'clock when the AP declared Ken Paxton the winner of this Senate race, the Republican side. So it looks like it will be a Paxton-James Tallarico matchup in November. The polls have been very interesting so far. Of course, there will be updated polls now that we know who the winner is. But guys, yeah, this is definitely a big shocker for this to be called this early.
And I know, Courtney, you have repeatedly reached out to the Paxton camp.
Yep.
We're trying to effort some sort of statement or see if we can hear from Ken Paxton coming up later on in the night, as well as Senator John Cornyn, too. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, even a live picture, if we can get that from the Paxton watch party tonight, we'll bring that to you. But we haven't heard from our panel here in just a little while. DeMonte and Kevin, I guess, DeMonte, let me just start with you first. This margin, does that surprise you at all? And this early in the night?
Well, I don't think it's more this early. Well, yeah, maybe this early, yes. But what I was more interested in coming into the set tonight was, I know Trump endorsed several candidates. And in the past, we've seen, I think even in the general, it wasn't that effective in that race. Some of the candidates he endorsed lost. But I think what we're seeing in this primary election, that every single candidate that he's endorsed or pushed for has won by a significant margin.
I mean, could he have won this without the endorsement and with the margin being so big, or is it too early to tell that right now?
Yeah, I think it's too early. Like she said, once we get to the experts who actually look at like the animals and look at the numbers and the details and where the votes came from and all that, I think we'll get down to that. But I think it's undeniable what Trump's. I mean, the endorsement a day after early voting is huge because you have essentially all of early voting, and then you have election day, and so. I'm sure their campaign used that endorsement through email lists, phone calls, and those types of things to let folks know that happened. What I'm more now the story is when it comes to, in my opinion, when it comes to Tallarico is, does Paxton's history really matter? And because I think what this says is it doesn't. And if the MAGA loyal,
Some of the personal things and
right,
stuff.
well, it's just when you're MAGA, you're MAGA.
Right.
And what your resume says, what you've done in your past, or what terrible things you've done, don't really matter at this point. It's what side you're on, what flag you're carrying, and that's what we roll with. So,
it used to be that endorsements were a nice to have, not a have to have. When you look at this runoff and across the board, if you got Trump's endorsement, you're winning. I mean, why spend the money? just get his endorsement. I mean, how much did Cornyn spend?
He spent $90 million, but we saw TV ads on this very TV station where the president is complimenting John Cornyn did great on the wall and the border and whatnot, but he didn't get the actual endorsement.
Right. And this is what happens. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen on the ground and underneath and in conversations that don't get reported publicly or said publicly, right? Endorsement lists, email lists, walkers and things like that. So it's apparent, obviously, that endorsement was coming before it was even announced, in my opinion.
Yeah. DeMonte, can you talk a little bit about historically, who would turn out for an election like this one? It's a primary, and it's a primary runoff. I mean, I think we've seen traditionally people who they're voting no matter what. If there's an election, they're voting.
So yeah, and you have your 5 out of 5 voters, 4 out of 5, and so on down, right? And so when it comes to this type of election, where the top of the ticket is really not that exciting. Now, when you break it down into our local area, like a fiesta or a Spurs game tonight, and weather and all those things impact this type of election. And I think what Kevin said earlier, when you go vote and it takes you 3 to 5 minutes to vote, that's not good, right? Because it's good for you can get in and out, but in terms of the enthusiasm for the community, it's not good. And so I think you have your more traditional voters who vote every single time they get a chance to vote. That typically tends to be your more older voters. And then if you want to break that down even more, it's more of, okay, now what type of messaging do those older voters tend to gravitate to? And then you look at the campaigns and seeing how they're messaging that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can almost count on, certainly in runoff elections, age matters, okay? And the further north of 40 you are, the more likely you are to vote. It'll be interesting to see, is it just older folks like me, or was it older and the MAGA folks?
Right.
And I suspect it was both of those.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I find interesting. If typically it's older voters who are more traditional, maybe they have been Cornyn supporters over the last 20 plus years, but now we're seeing Paxton run away with this.
Yeah.
Is that a change in what typical voters, I say typical in air quotes, right, would come out and do in a race such as this?
I think Cornyn got what Cornyn typically gets. He gets your traditional conservative voters, the business community type of voters, stability, those types of things. Because keep in mind, Cornyn is one of the most senior members. And he sits on several powerful committees that benefit our community. So we lost Cuellar's position, and now we're losing another position that for San Antonio representation. But I think both of them, appeal to the same type of voter base. But when that Trump endorsement and that MAGA movement comes in there, it just shakes things up, especially when they show up.
We are standing by to hear from Ken Paxton. I believe we do have a live picture from his watch party right now. He's going to speak a little earlier than anticipated this evening, but we are standing by. That is the live picture from the Paxton watch party right now. And as soon as he gets to the microphone, if we're still on the air with you, and then we'll bring you some of those remarks.
Yeah, again, just as a refresher here, Ken Paxton, the AP has called it for him, 63% of the vote to John Cornyn's roughly 37% here tonight. Another MAGA influence that we haven't yet talked about is the GOP primary runoff for Attorney General. Do we have those graphics? I'm going to ask our producer, Landon, if we have some of those that we could pull up. All right,
they're coming shortly.
Those. Let's take a look here.
There they are.
Attorney General. So Mays Middleton, who put MAGA into his name in a lot of the ads, and versus Chip Roy here. This one it's not close at this point either. So DeMonte, what do you make of this race?
Well, from what I researched, MAGA Mays Middleton also is the president of an oil company. And so he was able to spend $11 million of his own money in his campaign early. What that does, you have every sophisticated voter outreach program available to you. You have the number of walkers you need. You have everything at your disposal before you even say go, right? So that helps out a lot. Then you start to pile on or add on to the wave or the movement of this MAGA movement, right? And so him having unlimited resources when it comes to finances and also having the support of the president and that movement, I think that pushed him. This America First movement has really pushed him in front.
I want to interrupt you all just here for a moment because John Cornyn, we understand, is speaking right now. So let's listen into that.
Of course, my wife Sandy, of 46 years and counting, and then our daughters Danley and Haley, of whom I'm enormously proud, and they mean everything to me. Politics is hard on families, especially, but I believe, and I know my family believes, that public service is an honorable calling. Serving others is a high purpose. And while much about politics is ugly, we choose to serve through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Of course, we could not have run this race without an outstanding campaign team that has served me so well through so many campaigns, truly the finest I've ever worked with. To Rob, Mayanne, and Andy, and the entire campaign team who worked tirelessly and gave everything they had, and who believed in me, I want to express my gratitude. Of course, I want to thank my U.S. Senate staff, ably led in Washington, D.C. by Drew and in Texas by David. You work hard for 32 million Texans every day that I'm honored to represent, with long hours, high stress, and job uncertainty. I want to express my gratitude to my staff for their incredible professionalism and dedication to the 32 million people of Texas that I'm honored to represent. To everyone who's worked with me, alongside of me for all these many years, I just want to say thank you. And then to my supporters in this campaign, more than 1,000 current and former elected official endorsements, more than 30 statewide organizations, to every financial supporter, every volunteer, everyone who voted for me in this election, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Tonight I'm reminded of something Teddy Roosevelt said in 1910. He said, "It's not the critic that counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and blood and sweat, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be among those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." A number of years ago, up in West Texas, that's not the region, that's the city, where there was a terrible catastrophe, a county commissioner up there said something that stuck with me all these years. He said, "Being a Texan doesn't describe where you're from. It describes who your family is." And for the past 2.5 decades, I have represented this family in the United States Senate. During that time, I helped write and pass a number of historic tax reform bills focused on building our military for tomorrow, helping put hundreds of conservative judges on the federal bench, worked to take Washington's boot off the necks of Texas job creators, and helped tackle some of our nation's most challenging problems. In this runoff election, approximately 8% of registered voters made their voices heard. And of that 8% who voted, roughly 60% said they were ready for a different direction. Another reminder that those who show up decide for those who do not.
Okay, so we obviously lost a signal there. John Cornyn addressing reporters there in Austin. And of course, he has ties to San Antonio, having gone to college at Trinity and law school at St. Mary's. And so no doubt a lot of people here locally paying attention to this result tonight.
Yeah, and our feed there cut out when he ended on a pretty poignant line. Those who show up decide for those who do not. He was saying that roughly 8% of voters came out and weighed in on this race. Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about that before he began speaking, right? What turnout looks like, who typically shows up for a race like this. It does feel like we have an election every couple of months. There's fatigue that plays into that too, politics as well. People sometimes are just tired of it. So we'll have to see what happens going towards November.
Okay, we'll get back to the panel in a minute. We're going to jump right back to the Bexar County District Attorney race. I know Erica Hernandez was at the Luzalena Chapa viewing party earlier. She has now made her way to the Jane Davis party. So let's check in with Erica and get caught up on what is happening there this evening. Erica.
Yeah, Ernie, so the numbers are still close, but as you can see, they're excited here about those early numbers that have come out, but the race is still close. We have Jane Davis with us. And Jane, how do you feel so far about those early numbers that came out? Because it's still a very close race.
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm very excited. I think it's a good showing, and I appreciate everybody who's worked so hard for me. And so we're just watching the tallies come in.
What did you see and what did you hear from people at the polls as you were going from polling site to polling site?
I got a lot of thumbs up. I got a lot of people who said we need experience at the top of the DA's office. We need leadership. We need somebody who can follow the rule of law. And that's why I am running, and that's why I think people are voting for me.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about this campaign, how it went over the past couple of months? I know it started with 8, it's down to 2. Yeah. What can you say now?
Well, I'm saying that it's part of the democratic process, and we love it, and we want to do well, and we want to be the advocate for the county, and we want to be able to show the county that the rule of law will be followed, and I think that's what's important, we get that word out to the citizens so they can know who to vote for. That's what we tried to do.
Awesome, thank you, Jane. So again, those numbers are really close. At last check, it is still 51 to 48%, I believe, for those early voting numbers. We're waiting for voting numbers to come in for today's tally, and we'll still wait here, and we'll find out, and we'll be back with you guys later once we get some more numbers in.
All right, Jane Davis, also a product of St. Mary's Law School as well. So we'll see how the night ends up for her in just a little while.
Yeah, just still 821 votes separating the two in this race. Kevin, I'm wondering, with your experience on the county commissioner's court, if you can just kind of weigh in on what's the significance and the importance of the DA's office and how you've seen that even change since you left the court.
It is vitally important. Essentially, the DA is the head of the largest law firm in the county. Private and public, it's the largest. Hundreds of different ADAs through there. The second highest budget item behind the sheriff's office. So it's vitally important, and it's a very, very powerful position because it also acts as the in-house attorney for all of the other electeds, and there's like 40 of those in total in the county. So it's one of the big three. County judge, the DA, and the sheriff. Those are the big three.
And we know there will be a change at county judge, in the next few months. And, just the dynamic is vitally important.
It truly is.
Touched on, so.
And yet it's also, we've heard from the current DA's office about how funding is not where they want it to be, to keep quality ADAs, like you're talking about, quality prosecutors within the office. So it's going to be a position that sounds like somebody's going to have to be creative and strategic about how to use the dollars that you have to make this office work and turn it around in a lot of ways. All right, what haven't we touched on here this evening that we should probably go back to? We have, I'm sorry.
Lieutenant Governor, and you said, was it 125?
Yeah, we've got one. Do we have graphics for those we can pull?
There's Lieutenant Governor right there, Democratic side. Again, that one's pretty lopsided right now. We talked about Mays Middleton and Chip Roy here on the Republican side. Closer, to say the least, there's the Attorney General, Democrat Nathan Johnson and Joe Jaworski there, 60 to 40 at the moment.
Okay, State Rep in District 125, Michelle Barrientos Vela and Adrian Rain. It looks like we don't have numbers quite yet for them.
Let's Demonte, you have an update there?
He is 80%, I believe.
Okay, we don't. Let me check the.
We haven't updated the graphic yet, but
I'll check to see.
I don't believe. Have we touched? Have we? We have the graphic available for the Republican side for District 35.
For De La Cruz and
yes, John Lujan, Carlos De La Cruz. We talked earlier about
80.8 to 19.2.
That's the
okay.
In
Parientes
125.
Vela. Okay, in 125, yeah.
All right, so Carlos de la Cruz, 63%. John Lujan, this is the Republican side of the race for District 35. There is a primary runoff on the Democratic side as well. Those are the results here. For the Republicans' part, I mean, John Lujan, he's got some name recognition. He served for several years. He flipped the seat he was positioned in back when he ran at a special election a couple years back. So with him losing tonight, does that say anything significant to...
He didn't get Trump's endorsement.
That's what I was just going to say. Carlos de la
that's it.
Cruz got the Trump endorsement.
There's your difference.
There's your difference. Okay. All right.
125. Okay, we're going to talk to us break. Let's do that. We'll come back and get caught up in everything. By the way, we do have the radar. That's the updated radar at the bottom of the screen there next to Myra. As Adam is literally within arm's reach here, just keeping track of all the storms. We'll get to him if necessary. We'll step aside and have more right here on KSAT Plus.
All right, welcome back to our election night live stream. A primary runoff here tonight to settle some unfinished business from back in March. Of course, we have weather going on, as you can see there in the corner of our screen. We're keeping tabs on that, and we'll keep you updated as needed throughout the night.
And again, if you're just joining us, the Associated Press has called the race for Ken Paxton on the Senate side for the Republican Party. So that's probably the big headline, if you will. But there's so many other races that we're tracking. We have DeMonte and Kevin here, and I know you guys have been on your devices there. I wonder what is there another particular race that has caught your eye right now, or something else that you just want to get off your chest?
Well, from a local, more local at least, that's District 125, and former constable with quite the name recognition.
Michelle Rodriguez Vela.
Is losing by 80%.
Significantly.
And we were just kind of talking about, okay, that's a big number. If you hit in the 60s, you're uber happy. Rarely does somebody hit in the 80s. But then if you look at the total number of voters, that's 5,000 people. That means you could literally knock every single one of those doors. And I suspect that this is a great example of somebody who knew how to run a campaign and somebody who didn't.
Right. And
We should mention her opponent, Adrian Reyna.
Yes.
Who has the significant lead right now.
I served with him on the VIA board. Good kid.
There you go.
All right, let's take a look at, well, we're going to go to our Zaria Oates here. She's following a very busy race because there's runoffs on both sides. District 35, U.S. Rep in District 35, a runoff in both the Republican side as well as the Democratic side. She is trying to effort, Zaria, talking with Johnny Garcia, who is one of the candidates on the Democratic side. I believe she's standing by and ready to just tell us where you are, what you're seeing as you wait for that interview, Zaria.
Hey guys, yeah, we're at a bar on the south side. This is kind of a location that they don't want known to the public, so there aren't too many people here because there is a separate event happening next door. But right now we are waiting for Johnny Garcia to come down. We've got Sheriff Javier Salazar here. We've got Council Member Edward Munguia here and lots of people. I think Johnny Garcia is walking in right now. Oh, just kidding. Someone is pulling a fast one on us. It's election night, so there's a lot going on right now, but we are waiting for Johnny Garcia to come in. He's running in the runoff on the Democratic side against Maureen Galindo, which we mentioned earlier. There is also that Republican runoff happening at the same time, John Lujan and then Carlos de la Cruz. This is a big race on both sides, and we also know that U.S. Congressional District 35 was recently redistricted, and a lot of people who are voting in this race didn't know that they were redistricted into this area. I mean, this is a very large area, including, San Antonio. It's got Schertz, Cibolo, Seguin. Is this real this time or a practice? It's a practice again? I don't really know what's going on because I'm looking at the camera here, but we are anticipating Johnny Garcia to walk in very soon, and he's expected to give some remarks first, and then of course we'll pull him to the side for an interview to talk about those big ticket items and what the plan is moving forward until Election Day, especially coming for a Republican, running against a Republican later this year and trying to snag that seat from them. So we are going to anticipate a lot of emotion from the crowd here, especially if he wins this seat. Right now or previously, Johnny Garcia was the PIO, the Public Information Officer for the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. So this would be a significant role step up for him from that office. Again, obviously, Sheriff Javier Salazar endorsed him in this race, so he is here in support of that. And as soon as we hear from Johnny Garcia, I'm not sure how much longer I can tap dance around him, maybe walking in or maybe not walking in. We do know he's nearby and coming in for his speech shortly, but I want to show you a little bit of the crowd here. There's quite a few people here standing with some signs, excited for him to come in. And of course, we're anticipating what he'll say in that speech, if he's going to mention the person who he was running against, Maureen Galindo, at all. But we're still not sure exactly how this speech is going to go or what's going to be said here tonight. If you guys want to wait here, we can, but I think we'll head over to another. Oh, well, there he is. We really didn't know what to anticipate in terms of this, so hopefully we'll come back to his speech in a little bit later, but right now
Zaria,
we'll let him say hi to everybody and send it back to you in the studio.
Zaria, thank you so much. We'll touch base with you here in just a minute, but now we understand Ken Paxton is actually addressing the crowd where he is this evening. Let's listen out.
I want to thank my family, my kids, my grandchildren, the Paxton Patriots, and every single person here today. Without your love, your support, and your prayers, we would not be here tonight celebrating this incredible victory. I'd also like to thank all of the grassroots, local, state, and national leaders who supported this campaign, including Congressman Brandon Gill, who just spoke, Lance Gooden, Congressman Nels, Congressman Wesley Hunt, and Congressman Ronnie Jackson. I'd also like to thank Scott Pressler and Turning Point Action for their endorsements. And then there's one person who I think you might know, President Donald J. Trump. When everyone in Washington told him to abandon me and abandon the people of Texas, he didn't listen. Instead, he gave his complete and total endorsement. President Trump is the leader of our party, and his endorsement in this is the most powerful force in politics. And I'm honored to have his support and I look forward to working with him in the Senate to deliver for Texas. Tonight, we just sent a Texas-sized message to Washington. I said it in March, and I'll say it again now. Today, change was on the ballot, and change won. Let me be clear, this is not just my win, this is your win. We just proved that this Senate seat doesn't belong to Washington. It belongs to you, the hardworking men and women of this state. We went up against $150 million in all the attacks in the world, and you know what happened? The voters declared loud and clear a simple truth that we know in our hearts and in our souls: Texas is not for sale. Now I want to take a minute to say something about Senator Cornyn. I want to thank Senator Cornyn for his service to this state. John has dedicated much of his life to serving Texas. He's worked diligently for years to help Texas. And for that spirit of service to the Lone Star State and our nation, I'm very grateful. Thank you, John. So no matter who you supported in this race, whether it was me, Senator Cornyn, or you voted for someone different in March, I want to thank every single Texan, and I want to let them know that I want to earn your support. Tonight is not the end of a campaign. Tonight is the beginning of the fight to preserve every value we hold dear. The future of Texas and the future of America is on the line, and I intend to do everything I can to expand our movement. I've won 3 statewide elections because I know how critical it is for our party to come together, and that's what we must do now. Without a shadow of a doubt, I will be the Democrats' #1 target in November. Texas will be the radical left's #1 priority, but if there's one thing I know about Texans, it's that we're not going to let them take it. This campaign is not about red versus blue. It's about so much more. My opponent is the most extreme radical the Democrats have ever nominated. He's even running a vegan campaign, whatever that is. He goes by a few names that you may all have heard of. Some people know him as Tofu Tallarico. Some people call him Six-Gender Jimmy. I've even heard some people call him James Tallarico. And others refer to him simply as Low T Tallarico. But no matter what you call him, let me tell you this: James Tallarico is a threat to everything we hold dear in this state and in this country. He's a threat to our security and our safety. He wants open borders and even said a welcome mat should be at our southern border. He's a threat to our children. He wants boys and girls sports, gender mutilation surgery performed on kids. And when asked what he loved outside of his family and friends, you heard what Brandon Gill said. His first answer was trans kids. That's weird, and that's a radical guy. He's a threat to our prosperity and Texas economy. He said you can't be a Christian if you support the oil and gas industries. He wants to raise your taxes, and he won't do a single thing to lower costs for you and your family. And finally, he's a threat to our very way of life and our values. I mean, he's a vegan who thinks God is non-binary and that there's actually 6 biological sexes. It's hard to imagine someone more radical than that. No matter what he says or how much he raises, the reality is that James Tallarico is going to be nothing more than a Texas-based puppet for Chuck Schumer and the National Democrats. Yes. He wants the open borders policies of Biden, the woke agenda of AOC.
All right, Ken Paxton there in a victory speech that's quickly turned into a campaign speech. Moving on to November, looking ahead to his next opponent in James Tallarico.
James Tallarico, a state representative I once taught here in San Antonio, and we bring in Kevin and DeMonte here, and maybe it's still too early, but any opening thoughts on what November might look like now?
Well, I think we just heard what the attack is going to be for the entire next few months.
I think it's from the last election when you had, remember the Calling All Red race where it was more about men and women sports that kind of dominated the And that's kind of what they led with, and it was very effective. And so there are certain issues that become what they call them dog whistle issues, to where you look at the data, you look at the research, and the data says, hey, more voters are afraid of this or care about this, and that's what they put the money behind, and that becomes the message. And I think what you're hearing here is Paxton starting off on the transgender topic and children and those types of things. And I won't get into the campaign stuff, but I think it's on.
It's going to be very ugly between now and November in that race.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now we've also got, skyrocketing gas prices. The economy is in a different spot, and just the pinch that everyone is feeling is different than the last time, the last election. But to your point, DeMonte, looking at some of the Democratic and Republican side priorities, the things they put on the ballot to just ask voters, how do you feel about these things? Sharia law was a big one on the Republican side of things. In this primary runoff, we saw a lot of ads that focused on Sharia law, not the dollars and cents, that a lot of people are feeling no matter what side of the aisle you lean towards. So do you feel like the economy will end up weighing more on this race come November?
I grew up and it was always about the economy.
The economy is stupid.
Yeah. Right.
But it has become less and less in regards to these hot button issues. And the level of sophistication of these campaigns and knowing what sells and what doesn't is just light years ahead of where we used to be even 10, 15 years ago.
I think what's scary and also sad is that it's no longer about what you've done or what you're currently doing. Yeah. It's no longer about your resume. If you're a good person or you're a bad person, do you care about people or you're not? It's not about that anymore, and that's very sad. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green, whatever.
Just the state of politics.
The fact that it's the flag that you carry, and if you're on what side you're on, and that's all that matters. It's just not a good place to be, but that's just where we're at. And I think the more people that get plugged in, the more people that try to go find information on their own and really try to find the truth, which is hard to do these days with AI. But I just think we're in a sad place when it comes to elections across all national, local, state, to where if you, and I'm not pointing this towards anybody, but if you have a terrible record, you can still hold the highest office in this country. I'm not talking about the president. I'm just the opportunity to continue to do that is just disheartening to me.
I keep thinking things will moderate, and they keep getting further apart. So.
How about just midterm? No matter who's in office, who's the president, just midterm election turnout. I mean, historically, what has that looked like over the past few presidencies?
Like half of what it is for a regular election,
right?
At best.
That's where you typically see, you have the 2 years or the 4 years where they're pissed off with whoever's in office, and then it flips because they're mad, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you tend to see if there's a special election thrown in there. Those, they take advantage of the low turnout and catering to the traditional voters. So primaries are less attractive. It's usually not. If there's an exciting or strong candidate, they usually win outright, and you don't really see them on a runoff election. But it's just not somebody at the top of each of these tickets, other than the president inserting himself, that's really driving numbers anywhere.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to step aside here. We have at least another 15 minutes or so before the top of the hour and our 9 o'clock newscast, and we are monitoring the weather, as you see at the bottom of the screen. So our meteorologists are standing by if necessary, if this escalates anymore. We'll do that. Quick break for us, and we're back here on KSAT Plus.
Meteorologist Adam Caskey and Sarah Spivey here to give you an update on the severe thunderstorms that are moving towards San Antonio, especially. So there's going to be a new one. You're going to see a new yellow box here near Bernie. That's going to include Bernie down to Pipe Creek. That's going to be a new severe thunderstorm warning. There it is. And this heads into northern Bexar County for 60-mile-per-hour gusts and maybe 1-inch diameter hail. But wind seems to be the primary threat with these. Also, this Boeing segment currently moving through Devine, headed eastward. It's about to cross into Bexar County, moments away from Poteet, Somerset. This is headed eastward. This is the warning for southern Bexar County and southwestern Bexar County, which includes, from La Costa, Lytle to Somerset, Palo Alto College, down toward Leamington, Poteet. This storm has a history of 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, and it's now headed eastward. And you see these yellow polygons. Those indicate the severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect. This one, for example, Atascosa County until 9:45 p.m. But our newest one is up here for Bernie until 9:45 p.m. And this does include Fair Oaks Ranch, Bergheim, Leon Springs, and just into Stone Oak, Timberwood Park, and right down to 1604 and about Bitters area, because this thunderstorm right here could have some wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Just one of those situations where you just stay inside and try to stay away from any exposed windows. Not a good time to go outside and travel around. And Spivey, I think the hail size would maybe be 1 inch within some of these.
Yeah, we have maybe a quarter. But
maybe.
Again, the biggest threat here is going to be the gusty winds, like you mentioned, and just frankly, the lightning.
And lightning, too. Lightning can cause its own problems. But you don't see a lot of purple in these storms, which is a good indication that we don't have a very organized hail core. So this, I think, primarily more than anything, would be a wind threat as it moves in. Now, I'm going to put this in motion. I'm going to zoom out for you so you can see it. And those of you on KSAT 12 watching us for the cut-in, we are live on KSAT Plus, KSAT Weather Authority app, and KSAT.com. And so those of you that are watching on air, we can actually cut over to just the streaming now. We're directing everybody over to our streaming products. Put this into motion over the past hour. You see it starts to fill in over Bandera County as this entire cluster moves eastward. But we're getting this building southward into that have just crossed over I-35 and are now moving on eastward. I'm going to stop this and put some time on here for you because this has accelerated a little bit compared to what we were tracking earlier today. So I'm going to zoom in right here and get this part of the storm. And it's really the front part of the storm that has some of the highest winds. But this would be the onset of the front part of the storm. And that would be Von Army at 9:03, even Somerset at 9 o'clock. Charlotte 9:06, Brennan High School at 9:09, Poteet at 9:09, and Stevens High School at 9:10 p.m. for the onset of that part of the storm. Now this section right here is just kind of building southward. Doesn't have the same storm motion that Boeing segment does. So there's this little gap in the warnings where we have this gap in the storms. We have this little gap in the warnings, but I think over the next hour or less, this is going to fill in here in between and kind of become a one more cohesive linear storm than these separate storms. One more cohesive linear storm. So I want to see what the latest skit is on this, if there's a good one. Yeah, there's not a good skit on this. But either way, looking at the motion of it, it's basically moving eastward as it builds southward a little bit. So you still have a bit of time before it would make it to Bulverde. I can put a generalized timeline for Bulverde. The onset of that storm would be about 9:21 p.m. 9:21 p.m. for Bulverde. Downtown San Antonio, give this an ETA for you. Heaviest rain about 9:21 p.m. And we did get word that the Spurs watch party at the Rocket La Cantera, now that halftime's here, has been canceled because the light rain has started, and then it's going to be followed by the heavier rain and, of course, a lot of lightning and thunder. So the Rock right about here at La Cantera, and you see the sky is lit up, and that's all headed eastward. So the tornado warnings we had earlier have all been dropped, but yeah, always keep an eye out for any little parts that stand out in these thunderstorms. For the most part, we're looking at bowing segments, which have the primary threat of high wind gusts, but also a lot of lightning, which can easily cause power outages. Lightning can be damaging in its own way, even if it's not within a severe thunderstorm per se. Down to Cotulla, heavy rainfall, high winds potentially 60 to 70 miles per hour. This whole line is headed eastward. And I'm going to put some communities here along the south side of this storm, but first I'm going to switch radar sites. Here we go. Along the south side of this storm. So I know we did some communities on the north side, and now we'll do the south side of the storm. All right, Dull at 9:10 p.m., Fowlerton 9:21, McCoy at 9:45, Tilden 9:48, and Crowther at 9:57. That would be the onset of the storms. Let's take a look at the winds here, especially on the southern end of the storm, just to get an idea of where some of the highest winds are. I know the lightning, so much lightning out there. Basically, just east of I-35 there. Not far from Dilley, just east of Cotulla, and then especially closer to Pearsall. Here's a better look at the worst part of the storm is kind of in between these radar sites right now, so we're not getting the best look at it right now. Yeah, starting to bow out right there. So, wind, the primary threat within these thunderstorms. That's the primary risk, is high gusts, 60 to 70 miles per hour. But that's not going to be everywhere along this line. It's going to be pockets along this line where we could get that. No warnings in effect for downtown San Antonio. Nothing for downtown Castle Hills, Windcrest, or Kirby. Adkids, not yet at least. We just have to watch the evolution of this system. Speaking of evolution, let's go to our Futurecast. And one unique thing about the Futurecast that stands out now compared to previous runs is that it develops more action around the morning commute tomorrow. But let's start with this. 9:45, showers and storms moving through. Yeah, that's within an hour from now. Moving through San Antonio and Bexar County. By 11 o'clock, the worst of it and the strongest storms are east of town. And then it's really just some of our eastern counties as we get near midnight. But then we're watching a cluster in Mexico overnight. And that cluster in Mexico could organize a bit more. And by roughly the morning commute, clip us with a few more showers and storms, where street flooding would be the primary threat and the primary risk with this cluster that would be moving in around the morning commute tomorrow. So really could set up to be a messy morning commute. And here's the overall driving force of a lot of this. With this upper level disturbance right here, this counterclockwise circulation, it's not just the energy with it, but it's the trough axis that's moving through that's giving us the enhanced rainfall potential and a little more organized storms as well. The actual axis of that trough is swinging through, and that's what's enhancing the action that we have right now. And we're going to look at our tomorrow's forecast here. Other than the morning commute with that chance of the that cluster from Mexico clipping us, 40% chance there. Just an isolated storm or two tomorrow afternoon, making it up to 81 for the high temperature. And tonight should be the most active night of the week and most active time period of the week. Really quiet by Thursday and Friday. We get into the weekend, isolated afternoon storms, and by Monday, some scattered activity at 40%. So another enhanced chance by next Monday. But otherwise, this is going to be the most active time of the week when it comes to any showers and thunderstorms, and of course the threat for severe storms. And we can take a quick break too, Landon, if you want. We can take a quick break. I do want to point out there is this flash flood warning that's from Kerrville to Comfort. That is for street flooding. Okay, this is not river flooding. This is for street flooding, and that's this green outline. See this green polygon, Kerrville to Comfort? They've picked up a significant amount of rain in a short amount of time. And I'll show you those rainfall totals. This yellows and oranges indicating 3 to 4 inches of rain. Check this out. This is why we have the street flooding likely from Kerrville to Center Point to Comfort, almost over to Sisterdale. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back to track more of the storms and get some of the latest data to you coming up in just a few minutes.
We've got severe storms moving into San Antonio. The primary threat, damaging wind gusts, but we could also be dealing with some very heavy rain. I'll be tracking storms and when things will finally clear for us coming up.
Plus, it is Election Day. We are following several key races, and we'll have the very latest on the results.
And for the first time, we're learning the real cause of death for 2 children found inside a burning car 2 weeks ago. What the medical examiner told us today. Straight ahead.
Let's begin tonight with the latest on these storms pushing through our area. Let's get right to meteorologist Sarah Spivey.
Well, we do have some pretty strong storms pushing into San Antonio right now. The main threat with these storms are going to be damaging wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. You can see that there's a severe thunderstorm warning for Kendall County, northern Bexar County, out into parts of Comal County, rather. This is until 9:45. You'll notice that San Antonio proper, downtown San Antonio, the north part of 410 here, and even the north part of 1604, not under a severe thunderstorm warning, but the south part of Bexar County is under a severe thunderstorm warning, including the Palo Alto College area, Somerset area. This severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 9:45. So these storms are moving to the east and they're producing damaging wind gusts. There's no hail with these storms, but what there is frequent lightning. So I do expect some power outages here soon, scattered around Bexar County. Meanwhile, we're also seeing very, very torrential downpours right now over the Bernie area. This entire line here is marching to the east. I can go ahead and put a bit of an ETA. Should be in the downtown San Antonio area by about 9:30. Now, again, that's just some heavy rain. There's no damaging wind gusts there, but damaging wind gusts potentially happening in Bernie right now, could be in Bulverde by 9:28. And I want to show you, of course, we've got a lot of Spurs watch parties going on right now. Here is the Rock area right here, and you can see that some very heavy rains are heading toward that area shortly. Now, we'll gradually start to see these storms push east by about midnight, 1 o'clock. But with the storms approaching San Antonio, I know that those watch parties at the Rock have been canceled out of a precaution as these heavy rains approach. I want to check in with our Avery Everett, who was there at the Rock. Avery, obviously people have been encouraged to head home. What are you doing right now, and what did you see while you were out there?
Well, Sarah, we're in the car at this point. There was disappointment when that decision was made just before halftime, but people understood as soon as the rain started coming down. We got video of people clearing out very, very quickly. And we'll show that to you in just a second, but I want to show you where we're standing, or where we're sitting right now, because we're in the parking lot. And this is what the Rock looks like right now. You can't see it because of just how hazy my phone is from the humidity out here in the rain, but the screen no longer shows the Spurs game and it says the event is canceled. But when we were out there earlier, I mean, people were clearing out very quickly. We got videos showing people using their umbrellas. I mean, that was the accessory of the night, not the Spurs gear, but instead the umbrella. And people were moving. I mean, the rain started coming quickly. We had seen the storm clouds on the horizon really all night, but as soon as the rain started coming, people left, and security canceled it almost immediately. They were first going to have people waited out 4 minutes until halftime, but really when that heavy rain started coming, that's when people started clearing the area. So we are in the parking lot right now. Really, a lot of the people who are around us, the vendors, have already left at this point, so we're going to head out soon, shortly. But there was some disappointment, but a lot of understanding because of the situation that was out here. So I'm going to send it to you all back in the studio, but we'll be out here for the rest of the evening.
All right, Avery, thank you so much.
All right, primary runoff election night here on this Tuesday, and we have some early results tonight, including one massive race that has made headlines nationwide.
Yeah, let's start with the race for U.S. Senate. On the Republican side, longtime Senator John Cornyn lost this race tonight to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who will now move on to face James Tallarico coming up in the general election in November.
Yeah, Courtney Friedman told us $110+ million spent on this, $90 million of it on the Cornyn side. But Paxton ultimately had the endorsement of President Trump, and you can see This one was called relatively early this evening, and both men have already spoken earlier this evening. Meanwhile, other results that we are tracking tonight for Representative in District 35 on the Republican side, Carlos de la Cruz also received an endorsement from the president right now, winning that race over John Lujan with 63% of that vote.
So this is a newly formed district after redistricting here in Texas. So let's take a look at the runoff happening on the Democratic side. Both sides of this in a runoff here this evening. Johnny Garcia, former public information officer for the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, has had a steady lead in this race all night long. Maureen Galindo, 40% in this race. She previously ran for city council here in San Antonio. Looks like Johnny Garcia will move on as this race proceeds.
Okay, District Attorney here for Bexar County. We know Joe Gonzalez is not seeking re-election on the Democratic side. Very close right now. This has been close all night long. Jane Davis, who has decades of service, right now leading 51% to 49%. Again, this is the Democratic side, and two names that have made a lot of headlines here in the weeks leading up to election night.
Yeah, this has been really the tightest race all night. Yeah. At one point, there was roughly 800 votes separating these two. It was packed back in March on the Democratic side. So these are the two remaining. Whoever wins this will move on to face Ashley Foster, who was the lone Republican in this race. So she moves on to November. Let's take a look at the next contest here this evening for Lieutenant Governor on the Democratic side. Vicki Goodwin winning this one with 69% of the vote to Marcos Isaias Velez with 31% of the vote. Vicki Goodwin planning to move on to November as well.
On the Republican side for Attorney General right now, Chip Roy and Mays Middleton, who spent a lot of money. I think our panel had said he had spent upwards of $11 million of his own money on campaigning, and it seems to be paying off right now as Mays Middleton leading 56% of the vote there to Chip Roy's 44%.
Moving to the other side in this race, Attorney General on the Democratic side, this race has been called for Nathan Johnson with 59% of the vote. Joe Jaworski pulling in 41% of the vote tonight.
State Representative in District 125 on the Democratic side, Adrian Rana right now with a runaway lead over Michelle Barrientos Vela, someone with name recognition who has been in the headlines widely reported in recent years, but right now she is on the losing end of this again on the Democratic side for State Representative in District 125.
As for Republicans running for State Senate in District 19, Robert Marks Jr. with 58% of the vote, Marcus Cardenas with 49% of the vote as we keep watching this race here tonight.
And you can, of course, go to KSAT.com. We'll continue to update the results and have more for you coming up at 10 o'clock on KSAT 12.
Still ahead here at 9 o'clock, we now know how two young children who were found in a burning car earlier this month died. The medical examiner's findings and the latest on this case still ahead.
Plus, investigators say they now know how two teenagers were lured to their own deaths 4 years later, and who set them up. That story next.
Good evening. I'm KSAT meteorologist Sarah Spivey. Briefly interrupting coverage here because I want to let you know that we are live right now on KSAT.com, the KSAT Weather Authority app, and KSAT Plus covering these storms. We've got a severe storm warning for Kendall County, Comal County, North Bexar County. This storm is capable of producing 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and it's in effect until 9:45. Meanwhile, just some heavy rain moving into central Bexar County, pretty much between 1604 downtown San San Antonio. But for southern Bexar County, we also have a warning here for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. But this is really heading toward the Poteet, Jourdanton, and Pleasanton area with the more damaging wind gusts of up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. That severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 9:45. Again, I wanted to give you a quick update here on air. Most of these storms will clear the area by midnight. We might have some redevelopment tomorrow morning, but if you want to stay up to date with the weather coverage, we're of course going to be live on the Night Beat. And right now, we're live on KSAT.com, KSAT Plus, and the Weather Authority app.
We have an update now to a disturbing story that we first brought you almost 2 weeks ago. We are learning more about the two kids whose bodies were found inside a burning car.
San Antonio police say their mother started that fire. This happened on May 15th on Richland Hills Drive near Petrenko Road. This afternoon, we called the Bexar County Medical Examiner's office and they confirmed 6-year-old Elisa Elena Vidal and 5-year-old Adrian Akil Vidal both died from stab wounds and not from burn injuries. Their deaths both ruled homicides, and now their mother, 34-year-old Marlene Vidal, was arrested and charged with capital murder. This is a story that is continuing to develop, and you can follow along with everything we know so far by scanning the QR code you see there on your screen.
All right, live cam outside right now on this Tuesday night. It's been a tough night weather-wise already. You might not think much of it there. You can see some lightning in the distance, and Sarah, you and Adam have had your hands full tonight.
Well, we want to keep people prepared because I know there's a lot going on in the city with the Spurs game, Spurs watch parties, those kinds of things. And I want to show you a wide view of what we're looking at right now. We're looking at a line of storms moving through San Antonio as we speak and stretching from pretty much the Round Rock area all the way down to Cotulla. We've got a handful of warnings that I want to get you through right now. As we look up to near Kerrville and Comfort, I know when you see flash flood warning, that can be make you very anxious, understandably so. But this flash flood warning that's in effect is more so for street flooding. The river is not flooding. That flood warning is in effect until 11:30. If you are under that flood warning, you just need to watch out for flooding on the roads. Turn around, don't drown. Then as we look into Kendall County and North Bexar County, torrential rain starting for Leon Springs, Fair Oaks Ranch up to Bernie. There's also frequent lightning here with these storms as well. And the main risk here is going to be damaging wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. North Bexar County, extreme northwest Bexar County from Leon Springs northward and out toward Bulverde is under a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45. Again, the biggest concern here is for damaging wind gusts. I want you to see that there could be, in some cases, we're looking at the winds here, up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts from Candelia down to Bergheim and down to Fair Oaks Ranch. Now, this is moving to the east at about 35 miles per hour. So as we look at the track here, I'm going to track it to the east at about 35 miles per hour. This is going to impact areas like Smithson Valley High School, Canyon Lake area by about 9:51. Bulverde, it'll be in your backyard by about 9:40. So that's for that severe thunderstorm warning. You can see that the gusts are kind of clipping North Bexar County here. As we look at the rest of the radar, heavy rains with lightning are falling near Medina Lake, Rio Medina, approaching the SeaWorld area. These are not having heavy wind gusts with them, so keep that in mind. But in South Bexar County, down to Poteet, down to Jourdanton and Charlotte, that's where we're seeing potential wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. If you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, you need to be indoors and away from windows. This severe thunderstorm warning is also in effect until 9:45. It has been a very busy night for the Atascosa County area. They've had a lot of rain. That's where there's a flash flood warning south of Jourdanton until 9:45 as well. And then down near Cotulla, we've also got damaging wind gust potential of up to about 60 miles per hour. So as we look at the future cast here, I want to show you kind of what we expect over the next several hours. So until about 10:30, 11 o'clock, we could still see some rain here in San Antonio till about midnight. Then the heaviest of the storms will be heading east toward Hallettsville through Seguin by about 11:30 midnight as well. We'll get a break from the rain, but what we'll have to watch for is late tonight, close to about 2 o'clock in the morning, we'll have to watch some storms in Mexico to see if they can make it to San Antonio by the time of the morning commute tomorrow. That would be right around about 6 o'clock in the morning. That's a chance. It's not a guarantee, but we put that chance at about 40%. So as we look at tomorrow's forecast, expect a small glance of storms in the morning. You'll want to give yourself extra time to where you need to get to go for the morning commute tomorrow, then a high temperature of 81 degrees. So the biggest threats tonight are going to be the risk for street flooding. Frequent lightning will lead to some power outages, and we could see some damaging wind gusts over the next hour or so. Those are the main threats. There's no hail with these storms either. As we look ahead, we are going to see a fairly drier forecast, high temperatures near 90 degrees. Our next chance for rain isn't until Monday of next week. And again, just leaving you with a look at the radar here, we are seeing this storm push off to the east. The heaviest of the rain will be in San Antonio momentarily, guys.
busy night indeed. Oh, by the way, it's Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. The series is currently tied between the Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Our John Paul Barajas inside the Frost Bank Center, an official watch party there. JP, fans on the edge of their seats.
On the edge of their seats is exactly right. The Spurs just hit a massive three-point shot to cut into this lead. We're with the Spurs, Jackals. Everybody's having a good time.
We got a good run going. Massive shot, huge run, and a lot of basketball to be played. Don't get too high, don't get too low. Just keep believing, stay disciplined, baby.
We saw the Spurs go down almost as much as 18, nearly a 20-point deficit. They're cutting into it right now. How are we feeling? What do we need to do to make sure we continue to cut into this lead?
You know, we already saw that the Knicks, who were already in the finals, came back from a 22-point deficit in the fourth quarter. There's no reason why we can't do the same when we still got a quarter and a half left to go.
Looking a lot at the first half, were you guys ever feeling like Wemby needed to attack the paint more? Did it feel like he was settling for threes or mid-range jumpers?
I felt like Wemby was just trying to find his rhythm into the game, honestly. You know, we trust Vic to pretty much follow the game, follow the pace, and there's always a lot to learn. There's so much to learn with each and every game, because each and every game is a different war zone. It's like a chess match, a literal chess match. So he's taking a moment to sit back, watch, learn, and see what the next move is. So, and as we can see, we're on a good run, so we're learning a lot.
Cutting into the lead really quickly. Julian Champagnie really stepping up in this game. What does that mean for the Spurs?
Law of statistics, man. He was due. That slump wasn't going to last forever. So he kept us in it in the first half. Now we got to repay the favor and close that gap and finish it out.
All right, let's get this comeback, boys.
Come on.
Go Spurs, go. We're going to toss it a break.
Investigators believe that 2 teenagers were lured to their deaths nearly 4 years ago.
Now police have accused a then teenage girl of putting them in the gunman's sights. 15-year-old Angel Ray Garcia and 19-year-old Gregorio Ricardo Cordova Mejia were found shot multiple times at an apartment complex off Pleasanton Road. Our Garrett Berger tells us how police tracked down the first suspect to be arrested.
It was early morning, July 2022. San Antonio police responding to a call of shots fired. Down here, they find 19-year-old Gregorio Ricardo Cordova Mejia. Upstairs between those 2 apartments, they find 15-year-old Angel Ray Garcia. Now, San Antonio police say a then 17-year-old Angie Morales had lured them here. Police say a confidential informant told them Angie Morales had colluded with others to rob the teens, and those other people were the ones to actually kill Garcia and Cordova Mejia. The informant gave police Morales' Instagram username, satx.angie. Investigators checked Cordova Mejia's phone and found he had been communicating with that account, which had set the meeting with the building number where the teens were killed. The last message came minutes before shots were fired, with Morales telling Cordova Mejia to wait and she was coming out. Police say the name and birthday tied to the Instagram account is the same Angie Morales the informant had identified, and a number associated with the account is the same one the informant gave them. And the phone tied to that number was in the area of the murder when it occurred. Though the arrest documents don't accuse her of pulling the trigger, under Texas law, the now 21-year-old Morales is considered a party to the crime and faces a capital murder charge. Morales is the first arrest in this case. Police say they can't confirm any other suspects, but this paperwork does mention multiple other suspects, and there's even someone else's name in here. But because they don't appear to have been arrested yet, we aren't releasing it. I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
We do have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in effect until 9:45, but really this is just very heavy rain, frequent lightning moving into San Antonio right now. Here's the thing though, this storm complex is going to be out of here by 11 p.m. for San Antonio. So we're really not going to see much more storms after 11 p.m. That being said, the next hour, hour and a half are going to be pretty messy around San Antonio. Stay inside if you can. Don't forget to join us on the Night Beat. We're going to have the latest when it comes to storms and where they're headed, plus a look ahead to tomorrow's forecast for you as well. Stay safe, everyone. We got you covered on air, online, and on the KSAT Weather Authority app.
Hey, what's up? Adam Caskey here along with Sarah Spivey. We've got a handle on the storms moving into San Antonio. Really, the worst of it is outside of Bexar County and San Antonio. I know we still have some active warnings within Bexar County. These are the yellow polygons, but the worst of the storms are not hitting San Antonio. It's really just going to be some good rain. Of course, a decent amount of lightning and thunder. It's going to be loud. That may spook your kids or even your pets. May get spooked. Totally normal. This is going to take a little while to move through. Probably about an hour to move through town. Actually, I can put an ending time on this for you. And you see the back edge of the storms here. So the heaviest action is just now moving into basically Windcrest, all the way down to Elmendorf. But the back edge of the heavy rain, let's draw the back edge of it for you. And this will be making it to, so it's really it's going to let up at SeaWorld at 9:45. So we're talking 10 minutes. Somerset, 9:45. John Jay High School, it's going to really start letting up at 9:52. Holmes High School, starting to let up at 9:55. Leon Valley, 9:55, and Marshall High School at 9:57. So that's for the backside of the heavy rainfall. Right here, we still have this warning from Bernie to Bulverde to Camp Bullis and Leon Springs. You're really on the backside of the main thunderstorm. Where I think it could be a little severe would be closer to Canyon Lake, where we may see some wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. But right now, we don't have any indications that that's a threat for Canyon Lake. Farther to the south, you see how this is just good rain around San Antonio. This is kind of celebratory rain, to be honest with you. We've been chipping away at the drought, getting these drought-denting rain events, and this just adds to it more than anything. I think we could pick up a quick 1 to 2 inches from these thunderstorms. So let's take a look at the actual accumulations thus far. Remember, the rain just moved in to San Antonio. So it's still raining, let's say, near Lackland and on the west side. But you look at the rainfall estimates, and it's still coming down hard. And we already have 1.5 inches estimated by Doppler radar. So I'd say up to 3 inches possible in parts of San Antonio. You go farther to the north, 2 to 4 inches. This is from Center Point to Comfort over towards Sisterdale. This is where we've had some very heavy rainfall, even some pockets of 4 inches there. Comfort 2.6, Center Point about 3.3. So good drought denting rain, more than anything, is what we're seeing here. A lot of lightning, of course, with this, so it's loud, but it's not as threatening as, this line isn't as threatening as it was when it was farther off to the west. Now, I do think the strongest part of this storm is roughly from about Lemming southward to Pleasanton and Jourdanton, and now it's already passed through Charlotte. This leading edge that's headed toward Campbellton could have some wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. There's the potential with that. But overall, this line of storms, which has a history of, I think a storm spotter had a 76 mile per hour gust reported farther to the west, much farther to the west near Batesville earlier, a couple of hours ago with this storm. So this line headed to the east. I'm going to draw out some communities for the leading edge of this right here. Okay. Let's give you some communities when it's going to actually arrive. And that would be Christine at 9:40 p.m., Floresville at 10:05, both 10:14, Falls City at 10:24, and Karnes City at 10:41. And that's for the leading edge of this part of the storm. Farther to the south, still some severe thunderstorm activity, the potential for high winds. Our hail potential is really low. It has really fallen off. This is not a hail situation. Don't worry about covering your vehicle or, moving it to cover. Nothing to worry about here when it comes to any damaging hail. This would be pockets of wind, and more than anything, like we're talking about, some heavy rainfall. Now, I'm going to put this into motion, give you the wider view. Let's put this in play just so you see the evolution of it. And this split between those warnings, and even these warnings, I think, for Bexar County will likely be dropped momentarily. Either way, that's just the general flow and movement. Let's take a look at our TransGuide cameras. We have two TransGuide links. Control room popped it up at the same time I did. I'll tell you what, I was going to say, I can go back to radar. You go to TransGuide, okay? We'll do a flip-flop here. We'll trade you. I'll trade you. Is that okay? Trade you. And all right, voila. Thank you, though. I love that. So this is, obviously looking downtown on the left-hand side of your screen. It's just good heavy rainfall. And that's right here. We can go right to where that camera is. Right here. Right here. That's where the camera is. Looking near the Alamo Dome Convention Center area. And then this is our tower cam, which is closer to here, looking toward the hemisphere. So looking down that way. And it's a light show out there, but again, just good rain. So if you're concerned about any damage with this, If there was any, it'd most likely be the result of lightning more than anything. But remember, lightning does not constitute a severe thunderstorm. Just a general thunderstorm can cause lightning and can cause some power outages just because of lightning in general, hitting trees that then drop a limb or hitting lines and transformers themselves, of course, can cause outages. So we talked about the evolution of this and how now it's just starting up along I-10 outside of 1604, Marion, almost into Zool as well. Zool, you're going to get clipped. Zool, just some heavy rain and a little loud out there, but nothing to be worried about in terms of anything strong or damaging. Like we were saying, more than anything, this is just good, soaking, beneficial rain for San Antonio. Farther to the south, we could have some higher gusts, potentially up to 60 miles per hour. And that would be for Atascosa County southward, all the way into LaSalle and McMullen counties, especially here between Cotulla and George West, McMullen County. That would be the primary area of wind threat, and that severe thunderstorm warning is until 10:15 p.m. for McMullen County. And I think that's where we have some of the strongest storms. Second into Atascosa County, and then third would be up into northern Comal County. But overall, just some beneficial rain, and then we're going to see a break in the action tonight. And here's what's interesting. The possibility of some redevelopment into tomorrow morning for the morning commute. And let's take a look at the latest future cast, and this will help you out. Notice by midnight, 11:45 midnight, it's all moving through our eastern counties. We get a break, midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m., and then some redevelopment possible down to the south, Eagle Pass to Cotulla, and that could drift northward and build northward by the morning commute in San Antonio. It's another cluster of storms we'll have to keep an eye on that would develop in Mexico overnight tonight. We have our Avery Everett. She's downtown, somewhere downtown, I believe, downtown. Yeah, hey, how does it look outside? Just some heavy rain. Roads okay. So far, the primary threat would be some street flooding, but no flash flood warnings right now. Just some street flooding is what we'll watch out for locally.
Yeah, Adam, let me give you a look at the roads right now of what we're seeing. We've just left KSAT. We were coming from the Rock at La Cantera, and really that's where I hit the heaviest, strongest rain and winds. I mean, everyone was braking on I-10 headed toward downtown. Visibility was really rough there, heavy patches of downpours. Since we've gotten to downtown, we're still seeing that rain, but not quite as bad as it was on I-10 just about 20 minutes ago when we were leaving the Rock. We can see, like you said, some minor street flooding, some pooling areas, but really it's much lighter downtown than it was on the northwest side. We are headed to the Highway 90 area near Wolf Stadium. Adam, if that's still where you want us to go, wow, you might have been able to see that great lightning bolt on the west side. But we're going to head that way to Wolf Stadium now. As far as the highways, when we were driving on I-10, yes, there was flooding on the sides of the highways. People were mostly driving with their hazards on. The speed was definitely slower than the speed limit, but safe practices. We didn't see any crashes from the Rock to downtown. Another big lightning bolt off there to the right and to the west. So we're going to head that way now. Adam, if you want us to pivot any other direction, just let me know. Otherwise, we're headed that direction.
No, that's fine. And yeah, we're seeing those cloud to ground lightning strikes. The sky is just lit up and illuminated. And those cloud to ground strikes, those are the ones where even if it's not a severe storm, it can knock out power for a short period of time in some neighborhoods and cause their own issues, like they did down near Pearsall earlier today. But I mean, just seeing the light show, this is a good example of people who want to stay indoors but see what's happening outside. This is a good example of what it looks like outside with frequent lightning, both cloud to cloud lightning and cloud to ground lightning. And Avery, they canceled the watch party at the Rock at what was it, halftime?
Yeah, it was right before halftime. I want to say there was 4 minutes left in the game. They made that announcement over the speaker. The rain had just started drizzling at that point. There was disappointment across the crowd, but as soon as the rain started to pick up, people were moving as fast as they came in. I mean, I want to say within a 5 to 10 minute span, almost the entire Rock Plaza was cleared out. So yeah, now you can really see those heavy downpours, Adam, like you were talking about. We are still on 35. We're headed toward Highway 90, and visibility is very low at this point. Heavy downpours, and we can still see those lightning strikes. Really on the southwest side, the southeast side, and the west side, like we saw earlier.
Oh yeah, you're getting into the thick of it where you really see the dark red here. Woo-wee. That's the heavy rain. That's the torrential rain. Oh boy, you need some rain next there on that windshield. Yikes. It's coming down hard. And these are those cloud-to-ground lightning strikes you were talking about and showing us. There's a new one right there that's not far from where you are. But you said we were looking on the west side where we saw those strikes coming down. And these are those individual strikes. Ooh, just listen to that rain too. Yeah, more than anything, it's good stuff. Now, these storms are always fluid, so they can sometimes just kind of gain a little strength out of nowhere, which is what we'll keep an eye on and watch out for. But right now, there are no signs of these gaining any strength to where it would be damaging. This is just heavy rainfall. It's alarming. It's loud on your roof, loud on your windshield. It's not easy to drive in. It's not necessarily the safest, but it's not the kind that produces the high winds or the large hail. Hail is not a threat here. And you can see the warnings even north of town have been dropped. No warnings for Canyon Lake. No more warnings for Bear County. Just heavy rain and lightning, and we could see up to 3 inches of rain in some neighborhoods as this whole line moves eastward. But let's keep this shot up because I'm telling you, that's better than a TransGuide shot. This is showing you what's going on. And it's one of those situations where you just want to enjoy this good soaking rain. Watch out for some ponding of water, and of course the lower levels, especially where the drainage grates haven't been cleared out in a while. They can be problematic in the lower levels. Now, obviously a smart call to go to the upper levels here on I-35. But street flooding is our primary threat now here in and around San Antonio and Bear County. We'll just have to see the rainfall totals and if any issues pop up. But if we were to get a warning, I think it would probably be a flash flood warning, unless something changes really quickly within this thunderstorm. But the severe warnings have been dropped, so that's a good thing. And Spivey and I are going to regroup in the Weather Center. We had an election today, some election coverage going on. So we want to get to some of the latest on that with Myra and Ernie. We'll have another weather update here in a little bit, so we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back. But again, warnings done and dropped for now at least. We'll keep an eye on it and let you know if something new develops. More than anything, enjoy the good rain. Kerrville, you had some street flooding, now just some very light rain. Just be careful with the low water crossings from Kerrville to Center Point to Comfort to Sisterdale. And of course, we'll keep an eye on it around town. All right, we're starting to, so the Weather Service just noted some new circulation within this storm where it started to bow out. Like we said, these are fluid and constantly changing. There's two little couplets of circulation. Let me walk over to the wall that we're watching for the potential of a brief spin-up tornado here. And that's right here near China Grove. And then again, right over basically the Pearl area downtown. So this section here is where we have the potential for a tornado to drop down within this storm. And these things, they modify quickly and can give a quick curl. Sometimes it lasts briefly, sometimes it lasts a little bit longer, but that's headed off to the northeast toward Kirby. So I'm going to zoom right into where we have this rotation couplet, not far from the Frost Bank Center. So all of you at the Frost Bank Center watching the Spurs game at the Spurs Watch Party, just stay put. You're safe inside the building. You should be fine there. Just let this thunderstorm pass and let the worst part of it pass. But it's right here, east of Broadway, I-35 and North Walters. This is where we have the area of circulation that we're watching. So this is right downtown, and especially on the east side of downtown. One area of circulation right here, because green indicates the winds toward the radar, red away from the radar, and then that gives us this counterclockwise circulation. So this particular potential tornadic part of the storm would be, generally speaking, making it to Kirby at about 10:58 p.m., so within 7 minutes to Kirby. Let's time it out for, let's say, Converse. Converse, the potentially tornadic part, 10:10 p.m. But that's just one of the circulations we have. We have another one near China Grove. You get these little notches as these segments bow out, and this is the other threatening part. This is Highway 87 Foster Road. You're looking at 410 in Rigsby, okay? 410 in Rigsby. I'm going to zoom out just to give you your bearings, especially those of you that know the east side pretty well. China Grove, you got 87, you got 410 right here, and this is right between 410 and Foster Road along Highway 87, where we have these greens and reds coming together right here. So I want to, and let me time that out for Martinez, because it's not very far away from Martinez. Martinez 9:57, so within minutes. So basically within, if you just got that warning, interior room, away from windows, usually that's a closet, sometimes it's a bathroom. Get as many walls between you and outside as possible because of the potential for a tornado to drop out of this thunderstorm. Nothing has been visually seen. No tornado has been confirmed. It's all Doppler radar indicated in terms of the rotation. It's those two areas I just showed you. And these just popped up. I'm going to look. Let's go to our shear. All right, so you do see this little band of shear that has popped up, and that's significant shear. And the wind shear, what we're talking about with shear, is the winds going in different directions at different speeds. Like I was showing you with the red and green that lines up, and that's where you can get a tornado. Even if it's just a brief touchdown, you can get a tornado. So anybody that just got the warning, Alamo Heights to Kirby to Martinez, Windcrest to Randolph Converse, you need to seek shelter, interior room, away from windows, as many walls between you and outside, the best. Usually that's a closet, like a coat closet. If you have a multi-story house, make sure you're on the lowest floor, and sometimes underneath the stairs that go to the top floor can be one of the better spots. Go back to the regular radar signature. It's not as defined here as it was, say, earlier today with a different type of storm, but now this is a different section that just developed and changed, and we have the two areas of circulation, the one in particular. So these are two separate spots. I'm really going to focus on this one right here that's headed into Kirby, because I think this one's a little more pronounced. Moving basically away from Terrell Hills. Terrell Hills, you could still see some high winds momentarily, but this is generally moving to the east and northeast. And I'm going to sample some of this because we have the winds going away, toward and away from the radar and creating this shear of about 70 miles per hour. And that's when you can sometimes start to get the tornadoes. Frost Bank Center, you're going to be on the backside of the tornado threat. So everybody at the Frost Bank Center, just stay put, stay where you are. Let this pass by 10:30. The worst of it should be out of San Antonio. But it's really just this circulation. Here's another way. Sometimes our technology can detect it, and this one is not detecting it right now because it's more of a broad circulation, but you'll see a little cylinder pop up on the screen. And it's still a little broad for the cylinder, but notice how right here we start to see this little curl near the Pearl. From the Pearl to Kirby, watch this. Okay, hold on, wait for it. And there, from the Pearl to Kirby, where we got the little bit of a curl and rotation within the storm. So let's see, let's put some times on this, okay? Obviously a lot of lightning. I'm going to turn off the lightning. Jeez, turn off the lightning. Come on, turn off the lightning. There we go. And let's put a timeline on this. Okay, this rotating part of the storm we have a new forward speed on it, Spivey? All right. Well, either way, right now it looks like the latest with what we have in the system is 10:06 Windcrest, Live Oak 10:18, Schertz at 10:23, Marion at 10:42, Santa Clara 10:42 p.m. for the potential arrival of the rotating part of the storm. I'm going to actually draw it out a little bit faster than that because I think it's going to be a little bit faster than what I just showed you. Yeah, okay, so it is going to be a little bit faster. There we go. Here's an updated look at when this could get to the listed communities here on the screen. And what we're watching is this little area of green and red right there on the east side of town, about to cross over I-35 and about Rittiman area, making it to Wagner High School at 10:03, Converse at 10:11, Live Oak at 10:13, Universal City at 10:16, Schertz at 10:18, Garden Ridge at 10:24, Steele High School at 10:25, and Marion at 10:23. And primarily I'm watching this little section right here. Now that this thunderstorm has quickly strengthened and evolved and got a bit of a spin to it, we're getting this potential. There it is. Okay. So this is what I was talking about earlier, where it becomes more defined circulation, which it's starting to become more defined circulation near Houston High School, but especially over Kirby. So anybody in or near Kirby, Wagner High School, Converse, Windcrest, Randolph, Martinez, of course, Cibolo, Friendly Corner, Schertz, lowest level, interior room, farthest away from windows, and as many walls between you and outside as possible, because this is where the threatening part of the thunderstorm is. I'm going to zoom out just so those of you in the other parts of town can see what I'm talking about. This is for the east side, okay? And I really think Boltville toward Brackenridge High School, you're on the back side of this, okay? It's really the threat is out ahead of it from Selma, or from Windcrest to Selma to Schertz to Marion to New Berlin, and even St. Hedwig and everybody in between. So we're talking between I-10 and I-37, northeast San Antonio, northeast Bexar County. That couplet just got a little bit tighter, and that's why you're seeing this little cylinder of rotation, that has popped up. So I'm going to take that off because it can be a little distracting, and go back to our just shear. And you look at how it has evolved over the past hour. It started to get that shear over downtown, and then now we have these two areas of shear we're watching, and shear meaning the wind going in different directions at different speeds, which then creates a little circulation. So these two areas are what we're talking about just looking at the rotation tractor over the past hour. And now we have right here, we still have the two areas, but I'm really focused on this one near Kirby. I don't want to count out this one in Martinez, which would make it to Zool. So Zool, you do need to be on guard for this by 10:16 p.m. That rotating part of the thunderstorm could make it to Zool by 10:16 p.m. Otherwise, we timed out some of the places for this one. We're going to have to start the night beat here momentarily. When do we need to start at Landon? How far away are we? Okay, so less than 30 seconds, and we'll have to take a quick change here, right? Okay, we don't have to, so we're just going to stay with it. Going back to the velocities here. Yep, that's fine. I'm talking to Landon, our producer, in my ear. So this is the rotating section of the storm, potential tornado, right here over Kirby, right there over Kirby. Because this is the green is the winds toward the radar, red is the winds away from the radar. And welcome to the Night Beat here on KSAT 12. Meteorologist Adam Caskey, Sarah Spivey. We're tracking this severe thunderstorm and even potential tornado warning, the potential tornado for a drop zone. We have some election coverage coming up as well, but right now we need to stick with two areas of rotation that could be a tornado, one in particular right over Kirby, okay? Right over Kirby, this thunderstorm, this severe thunderstorm, possible tornado. And we're watching where the red and green colors come together. This is just south of Roosevelt High School, which is a Windcrest area, and right over Wagner High School. You see I-35 in Rittiman, And then Seguin Road here, FM 78 that runs southwest to northeast. This is the spot where we could have a quick drop down of a tornado, drop down from this thunderstorm. And it's because you're looking at these high winds of 50 miles per hour and greater, 30 to 50 miles per hour going in different directions. So we're talking 80 to 85 mile per hour wind shear, which can easily translate into a tornado. And so Converse, Randolph Air Force Base, of course, you will soon be in line for this. And I'm going to get into some of the neighborhoods here. Crestway Drive, Sleepy Street. We have Cypress Mist Drive. We have Bent Meadow, Chestnut Bar Drive, Tortoise Trail, Falcon Meadow, Walnut Mill, and these are all right off Seguin Road, okay? Rustic Trail, Farrington Drive, Sawgrass, Hidden Hills North. If those ring a bell, you need to seek shelter immediately because this rotating part of the thunderstorm is about to move right overhead.
If our directors can bring up links to, I have got tornado safety.
Yeah, please.
Where you should be, okay?
Well, I can bring it up. I can bring it up right here.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. It would be in the KSAT Connect section. Or right there, correct. Okay, so this is tornado safety. If you can see here, the most important thing for you to do, this is a house here, you need to be in a lower level in an interior room. So sometimes that's bathrooms, sometimes that's closets. You just want to put as much space between you and this potential tornado as possible. You do not want to be near windows because debris can fly through windows. Find yourself a safe space. Sometimes that's your bathroom. You need to be on the first floor. You do not need to be on the second floor. Adam, I have had people texting me already asking me if they're in the tornado warning, if they should wake up their child and bring them to a safe place. That is what you should do. A little inconvenience now is worth your safety. So please, if you are in the tornado warning, and it's a section of Bexar County that is northeast of downtown San Antonio that is in that tornado warning, primarily near the Kirby area and northeast. So be indoors, away from windows, in the most interior room on the lowest level. Adam, I'll go ahead and let you show the radar again and what's going on around San Antonio.
Yeah, it is wake up the kids, bring them to safety. Then once it's all passed, you can.
That warning's till 10:30, so you have 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. And we'll tell you, like Salado Junction, Houston High School, all those neighborhoods from Terrell Hills to Houston High School, you're on the backside of where the potential tornado could be. So it has basically moved past you. It's Converse, Randolph Air Force Base, and then right along I-10 here, between Seguin Road and I-10. I'm going to list off some more streets, FM 1516. We've got 1604 from I-10 northward. It's basically I-10 and 1604 and Seguin Road where we have the threat for the tornado because of the rotation. Now, the rotation is not quite as tight and strong right now, but still a potential. This could still drop. And like we said, these systems are very fluid. They're constantly changing. They can weaken, they can strengthen, just like that on a dime. And they're very fluid. They're adapting to the current environment. They're never cookie cutter, like, oh, this is that, boom, this is what's going to happen. You just have to stay on top of them and keep tracking them. But right here is I-10. We just got a new scan. Still this area of shear, which means the potential for a tornado. And I'm not seeing as much farther to the south where we previously had it near Martinez. Not quite as much. And just to give you an idea of where we're looking here, this is the east side of San Antonio, far east Bexar County, between 410 and 1604. And this is essentially the primary threat zone, right about there. And that's what's tracking parallel to and basically right along I-10. And we do have a new warning out here. We have a flash flood warning. That's why you heard some phones go off. Flash flood warning because the heavy rainfall, street flooding is the threat here, and this is until 1:15 a.m. because of the significant rainfall. And, I mean, it's good drought-denting rain, don't get me wrong, really good drought-denting rain, but not great for travel on the roadways. Luckily, it's at night when not as many people are traveling, but we've already had about 2 inches of rain where the rain is still coming down. But let's focus back on the potentially tornadic part of this storm. And that's where we have this red polygon that's kind of hard to see, but it stretches from Garden Ridge through Selma, Schertz, Randolph, of course, New Berlin, down toward St. Hedwig. We're hearing some loud thunder around here too. Those are probably some of the positive lightning strikes, and we can even put that counter up. You see the number of lightning strikes there as they move through town. Okay, but I can't see the rotation and shear within this, so I'm going to switch it over and just try to isolate some of that shear. And it has it right along I-10, which is where we were tracking it. It's this red area. That's where the winds are moving in different directions at different speeds. And when that happens and it's continuing, then that can create a little swirl within there. And sometimes that swirl can drop down to the ground, become a tornado, and potentially even cause damage. But this is the area of highest shear, I-10, 1604, A.H. Beck area right there, and then basically in that construction zone east of 1604. Zool, you're just minutes away of the potential tornado. It's just potential tornado just 4 miles from Zool. The potentially tornadic part of the storm. I do think that for now, Windcrest, Live Oak, up toward Bracken, you're not necessarily under the risk of this rotating part of the thunderstorm and the potential tornado. The potential tornado is generally, with the way it's been moving, watch, we can put it in motion here. Let's play it. Let's play it out for you. See how it's moving to the east-northeast. The general area would be Marion, McQueeney, Zool, New Berlin, and southward. It'd be about this area, right along I-10. Basically, anybody right along I-10 from 1604 all the way out to Seguin, you need to be prepared for the rotating part of this thunderstorm and the potential for a tornado to drop out of it. Now, we don't have any reports of a visual sighting of a tornado, which is actually pretty difficult in these situations in the first place because, first of all, it's dark outside. Second of all the rain. So sometimes these tornadoes are rain wrapped, and that's why you just have to rely on the technology. And then once this is passed, if you go outside, you see anything unique, post it on KSAT Connect through the Weather Authority app, and we can then have the ground truth of what actually happened out there. But yeah, it's right along I-10. It's this couplet right here, right along I-10. We keep getting these little, warnings and alerts going off, so you'll hear some phones off in the background, which is a good thing to make sure you have enabled on your phone, the alerts. But right along I-10, we have the potential for a tornado right here, just outside of 1604, and that's headed right along I-10. So not good for travelers on I-10. Otherwise, I do want to point out the view from our tower cam. We have a red light up there. That's that red light. That's our flashing red light, you have to have for FAA regulations or whatever. But boy, oh boy, it is whipping, and that rain is coming in sideways now. There we go. Yeah, it is coming in.
Can't even see,
no,
the
you
distance
can't.
because the wind and the rain is so intense at the moment.
Go to some TransGuide shots, and you'll see just how illuminated and lit up, and what it looks like on the backside of that of the most severe part of the storm. I think my IFB battery just died. Yeah, it did. So if somebody can
you mine here,
come out, give me a new battery, that'd be good. Otherwise, I can't hear what you're saying, so maybe give me the old school hand cues from back in the day that we used to do. Anyway, this is the rotating part of the storm about to make it to Friendly Corner, about to cross over the Cibolo Creek. Friendly Corner to Zool, you need to be in your safe place. I do know my friend Erin has a friend in Zool who is scared of thunderstorms. Make sure she's in her safe place. If you're watching right now, make sure you're in an interior room. We'll talk you through it. This is going to be momentary, but we'll talk you through it in the interior room, farthest away from windows as possible, and with the most walls between you and outside. Now, the back edge of the big thunderstorm has yet to make it through San Antonio. By 10:30, 11 o'clock, we should really see it start to wind down in San Antonio. So you see the back edge there is now on the west side of town with just good stratiform rain on the back side. But keep in mind, even good stratiform rain can contribute to the flash flood warning, which is generally to cover travel, street flooding, travel. That's the warning that you got when your phones went off, is because the typical flood-prone areas are likely to have some water. Not only that, likely to have some ponding out there, and all of our construction zones that are very, very susceptible to quick flooding are likely to have those issues in the high water. Is that for me, Johnny? It's okay. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. All right.
So again, Adam, I think the key here for most people is the main area of rotation is heading to extreme northwest Bexar County. You can see it's even past 1604 right now.
Northeast. Yep.
Northeast, yep, northeast of 1604. It's along I-10 there, though. So this entire area from, 1604 on the northeast side all the way to the Friendly Corner and Zool, you can see that is where that main area of potential tornado, not confirmed, but we're seeing enough wind shear here to suggest that a tornado could be possible. So if you are south of this, if you are anywhere from Converse down south toward Martinez, you're in the clear. Even Schertz area, you're in a tornado warning. You still need to be indoors and in your safe place, but I don't think that this area of shear is going to be near Schertz. So again, Schertz, you're better safe than sorry, right? Be in your safe place, but I do not think that that area is going to be dealing with a tornado. However, with the latest scan here, those who live near Zool, you absolutely need to be in your safe place. You can see that there is some rotation here indicated from these storm winds that Adam was talking about. It's very windy too in Marion right now, but that is from the straight line winds of the storm itself. Still though, everybody in this tornado warning needs to be indoors and away from windows. The flash flood warning though is ongoing for the rest of Bexar County, and for the rest of us in Bexar County, our main threat is flooding and a lot of lightning from these storms.
And the lightning can cause its own problems. Even outside of a severe level storm, the lightning will cause some power outages. Just always does every time we have a very electrified storm. But right now the threat is east of 1604 on I-10, right along I-10. So anybody in and around Friendly Corner and Zool, close to I-10, and anywhere near there, you need to be in the safe place and don't go outside looking for this. Even in New Berlin, this could take a little bit of a turn. Be careful in New Berlin because it's really this part right here that we're watching right now that's headed right into Zool. So it's this part right here, right there near Friendly Corner, along and just south of I-10 and we can get right down into the neighborhood here. Get right down into the neighborhood. We've got North Abbott Road, we have Stapper Road, we have Miller Road, FM 2538, right along here. That's where the zone is of the potential tornado, but where it's headed to is along and south of I-10. We have Avery and Kirby, 410 and Kirby, so on the back side of this, and we'll have her on the lookout for if there's any damage like tree limbs down or anything like that, or any carports that have been damaged or flipped. But Linney Road right here too. This is going to be, you're up next in Linney Road. This is just a matter of miles away from Linney Road, 6 miles away. So that's minutes, okay? We're talking minutes to Linney Road. And that's for this tornado warned part of the storm where we have the circulation right here where the red and the green come together. That indicates the radar, the Doppler portion of the radar detecting the spin and rotation within the thunderstorm, within the storm. And that can lead to a tornado. Higher straight line winds around Marion. Spivey pointed this out earlier, Santa Clara to Marion over toward McQueeney, where you see those pinks and bright reds. But the most threatening part is right here, headed into Zool. And even along I-10, this is going to be problematic for travel along I-10 right now. The I-10 in the construction zone that's between 1604 and Seguin. A lot of us are familiar with that and that construction zone. And unfortunately, active weather like this just compounds issues in those construction zones because street flooding is a lot easier and you don't have as many places to turn off necessarily. it could just be more problematic.
Adam, I'm also noticing that lightning count strike behind you.
Mhm.
Over 200 lightning strikes just in that window there. So in the city of San Antonio, there's way more than that. We already have over 6,000, almost 7,000 customers without power. And I just want to give you a heads up that if you lose power, we are live streaming on KSAT.com, the KSAT Weather Authority app, and KSAT Plus. So even if you lose power and want to stay weather aware, or if you want to go to your safe place and you're in East Bexar County and you are not going to be near a TV, take us with you into your safe place, into the into the closet, and make sure you are not in your vehicle and stay away from any kind of flooded roads right now, because we do have a flash flood warning for just about all of Bexar County right now.
I'm going to stop it right here. That's a great point there, Spivey. Very good point. You see these little notches along the line? Those are the notches that we look for that can develop very quickly and create this little quick curl and rotation of wind. Whenever you get these linear type storms, you look for those notches along the line, and that's where we got the notch where, no surprise, right where that notch is, you have some wind coming in like this, creating that notch, a little bit of inflow right there. And so you don't see the heavy rain there, but then you also have, conversely, the wind spinning around on the other way, on the other side. But yeah, that lightning count is pretty high, and those lightning strikes will cause some power outages and just some issues out there. They always do. Even though it's not a severe thunderstorm for San Antonio right now, it doesn't matter. There's still going to be, some power outages and some issues because of the lightning. And you can see the numerous lightning strikes. These are all individual cloud-to-ground strikes. The flashing ones are the most immediate and the newest cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. Okay, that aside.
I wonder if we could bring up a double box with TransGuide as well.
Yeah, we can do both.
Possible, because we do have the lower levels of 35 already starting to flood. You can see that here on that TransGuide image as cars are starting to slow down and try to traverse through those flooded waters there of the lower levels of 35. This is why we have a flash flood warning in effect for Bexar County, because the usual spots that flood are starting to flood. And remember that phrase, turn around, don't drown. Even if you don't get swept away by water, your car can still get stalled out by water.
It can be an expensive fix.
Absolutely. And so on top of the risk for that tornado in extreme northeast Bexar County, we're also seeing the risk for some flooding. Is it possible for us to bring up a TransGuide? Okay.
No, there we go. There you go. Lower levels, always problematic.
Lower levels there, and the wake of water that is forming there in the lower levels of 35.
And sometimes it's because there's just so much debris from, that builds up along those drainage grates, especially when you get this heavy runoff. You get such significant runoff that then there's a lot of trash in our runoff. It happens every time, unfortunately, when we have heavy rainfall. Drainage ditches, our typical drainage areas, and the San Antonio River just get littered, absolutely littered. Often it's just, plastic cups and, styrofoam cups and all kinds of trash, because everything flows down into certain areas. And in the lower levels of our interstates, that water goes down quickly. It carries debris with it. It clogs those drainage grates. Looks like traffic's getting through there, but the rain's still coming down and it's still going to drain in. And always avoid the lower levels of our interstates whenever we have any kind of active weather. And then we've got also Avery Everett out there. I believe, was it Kirby or Leon's? That looks like I-10 and 1604.
Can you hear me, Adam?
Got you now. Got you.
Okay, so we were headed west on 90. We're now by I-10. We just passed Leon Valley, Balcones Heights. We are headed to Kirby. And really, since we left, you talked about the back end of the storm as we were further out west, and we are just headed right back into the storm. You can see that rain just coming quickly. Lightning every couple of seconds, really lighting up the sky here. And we felt it. We felt the storm intensify as we drive more east on 410. We just passed I-10. We are headed toward 281. And then from this point, the original stop was Kirby. I think we'll probably head at this point from 410 to I-10 headed east. But you can see the rain. I mean, certain parts of the highway have been more pooled, more flooding. there haven't been any lower or upper levels in this stretch of 410 that we've been driving, but certainly still on the sides of each of the highways, you can see that the water's starting to pool there. But like you said, I mean, as we head further east, that storm is intensifying, and our direction right now is to go to Kirby, and we can pivot from there as you and Sarah and Adam, as you tell us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Avery, for that update, and keep staying safe out there. The primary risk with this thunderstorm now is the potential for a tornado touchdown. And that would be now between Zool and New Berlin, headed into New Berlin area, the rotation. So anybody from New Berlin to Sweet Home, you need to be in your safe place, even almost, and that's in Guadalupe County, okay? We're not talking the basin, we're talking almost, city of, town of, because this is the rotating part of the storm where you could have a tornado. It's just crossed the Cibolo Creek, and it's generally headed eastward. Even Duggar, you're not too far away from it. Duggar, assuming it stays on its current track, that section would get to Duggar by 10:40 p.m. In New Berlin, it's moving in right now as we speak. That's the most threatening part of the storm. On the backside of it, I know you still may be under the warning, but Friendly Corner, Randolph, Converse shirts, your tornado threat has passed. St. Hedwig, I really think your tornado threat has passed. Atkins as well, Carpenter, your tornado threat has passed with this thunderstorm, because right here in New Berlin, headed east towards Sweet Home, that's the tornadic part of the thunderstorm. So those of you in the New Berlin area, Linney Road, we talked Linney Road earlier, FM 2538, FM 775, and then of course Church Road as well. Along Church Road, not far from Sweet Home, we're talking just south of I-10. This is the area where you really, really, really need to expect the potential of a tornado at any moment, any moment. The rest of us is just loud, heavy rainfall with a lot of lightning, a lot of thunder, and of course some power outages. We can track some of the flash flooding that we have as well. I want to go to some of our rainfall totals, and it's still raining in these areas. And you know we live in Flash Flood Alley. We are built on top of limestone, and we have hills, and we get quick runoff and drainage. And anywhere you have a dark green on the screen indicates at least an inch of rain. So we can put some of these counters on here, 1.7. We've got 1.7, where it's still raining along I-10, 1.7. That seems to be the number. Let's go to Lee High School, 1.4. Windcrest, already 1.1. Very efficient rainfall producers, and now the potential for a tornado to be produced. Now, I want to widen out the view.
We do have an extended tornado warning down in Guadalupe County.
Yes.
Because there was an area, like you were pointing out, that has the potential for some rotation there. I also got a question from a viewer of, if you're in a tornado warning, where should you go if you live in an apartment building? And that is very, very good question. So if you are in the middle of a tornado warning, you need to be in an interior room, and you can cover yourselves with pillows and things like that. If you have time to, and you can do so safely, make friends with your downstairs neighbor and try to see if they'll let you come in and join them in safety as well. Because again, the first level of the floor of your sturdy building is always the safest. Sometimes at apartment buildings, there will be gyms or a social center that's available as well. That's a good idea too. But the key thing here is to be indoors in the most interior room, away from windows.
Even interior hallways on the lower levels.
Also fine to do as well. So great questions there. But this new tornado warning, it does include the city of Seguin, Adam.
Yes, it does. Remember when we pointed out Duggar downstream? That's because of the area of rotation that's headed eastward, just along and especially south of I-10. So I was widening out the view so you could see the back edge of the really loud storms is starting to work its way through San Antonio, and that's the back edge. So slowly starting to come to an end in town for the heaviest rain. But the most threatening part of the storm, and what we're really watching the closest, of course, is, I'm going to go right to this product to really isolate it for you, is this area of shear, especially the part right near New Berlin. Sweet Home, Duggar up next, Sweet Home right now. And this does include the city of Seguin, because sometimes these systems twist and turn and, veer one way, veer the other. I mean, think of like a spinning top, right? It doesn't always follow like a direct path. And that's what we're thinking of within these thunderstorms, especially where we have the spinning rotation within the thunderstorms. Jake's Colony, almost to Duggar, to Seguin. That's where you have to be in your safe place. And you can take us on your phone with you and we can talk you through it. Now, this one right here, it's flashing, the tornado warning.
We have a radar confirmed tornado on the ground east of Santa Clara, and that's because of a tornado debris signature east of Santa Clara.
Santa Clara, interesting. Okay, I'm going to look at the, see if we get a TDS swath here.
I would look too at the correlation.
We will. We'll look at that in just one second to see if anything popped up in this algorithm. No. So now we're going to look at, and what you look at here, this is a confusing product. Okay, we're going to have to go back in time. I'm going to go 15 minutes, okay? Santa Clara.
That's what the National Weather
Yeah.
Service is reporting.
Okay, maybe a little bit in Santa Clara, but also Zool. You see that blue that popped up there?
I do.
This blue right here and that green. So basically red on here would indicate like a hydrometeor, like a raindrop, or a bunch of raindrops, sometimes even hail. But when you get something that just doesn't look like an ordinary raindrop shape, these dual polarized Doppler radars can detect something that looks a little different, and it's kind of like a ratio that gives you a different number. So the red is rainfall, but where you get this little blue and yellow spot, that's where there could be some debris picked up into the storm. And the dual polarized, meaning the radar, radio detection and ranging is what it stands for. The radar, sends out the radio wave vertically, but also horizontally. So older school radars, the original radars, would just be, one way. They'd send it out one way. Now the signal gets sent out vertically and horizontally. And actually, raindrops don't have that typical teardrop shape. They look more like the top of a hamburger bun with a flat bottom as they fall. And this red indicates that standard kind of hamburger shape. But when we got this right near Zool, those other colors, and I'm going to go scrub this manually here too. We can go back to the last 30 minutes because I want to just kind of isolate what I'm talking about here. And I have to do this by hand. Do this, okay. And we're going to do this slowly going through time. Okay, so those blue areas right here near Zool, you see the number is going to be farther away from 1. See 1.0, 0.99, that's more of the rain, whereas the numbers, closer you get to 0 and farther away from 1, that's when it could be something other than, say, rainfall, like right there, 0.595. So we'll call it 0.6 to round it, where this could be a little bit of debris picked up within the thunderstorm. Now, they mentioned Santa Clara.
I'm seeing a potential signature nearer to Zool.
Yeah, and that's where we had the rotation as well. So I'm going to go back to the rotation, the velocities. Santa Clara, you know what? I think that's straight line winds, if anything. Could have been some straight line wind damage. Either way, the rotation within this thunderstorm right now is right here, just west of Duggar, south of Mulesville, headed to the northeast. You have the Guadalupe River here. There's a new little couplet of 66 miles per hour up in the storm. And now I'm going to go back there. So anyway, it does look like we had something other than raindrops in there. Yes. But I think that Santa Clara looked more like straight line winds to me. But either way, right now.
A dangerous storm either way. You should be indoors away from windows. And again, this is showing signals of rotation in Guadalupe County.
Yeah, still showing the rotation. That would be right here between Jake's Colony and Duggar. This is the rotating part of the thunderstorm, kind of on the southern edge of the warning. But those of you in Seguin are included. Geronimo, no, you're not included in the tornado warning because the circulation is closer to here. And this is where we get the wind shear and that potential for tornado. Because the wind's going toward and away from the radar, and that creates then the counterclockwise swirl. And judging by the correlation coefficient, which is that newer technology that we were talking about, Zula, you're in the clear. New Berlin, you're in the clear for the tornado. You still have a lot of lightning, thunder, heavy rainfall out there. This is not a hail threat. Okay, not a hail threat with this. It's just this quick spin up that generally formed near Kirby and Martinez and then moved eastward and is now just south by a few miles. Let's check it. The rotation is about 5.5 miles south of Seguin, but could still drift up into Seguin. So you need to be in your safe spot, that's for sure. And notice how these warnings widen out as you get farther away in time. That's because these storms can be very erratic and they don't just follow necessarily a perfect direct path. They can curve, they can arc, they can sometimes even split and go in different directions. But right now, we're still tracking the tornado warning, and this is in effect until 11 p.m. for Guadalupe County. Like we said, New Berlin and anybody in San Antonio, you're in the clear from any potential tornado. It's everybody from Seguin to Duggar to almost, I'd say Jake's Colony as well. From Seguin southward, okay, along 123, Seguin southward along 123. And this may even eventually turn into a straight line wind situation, but either way, potato, potato, because the damage can be the same. Sometimes straight line winds create more damage than small tornadoes. Keep that in mind. But any other updates there, Spivey, that you have?
Not that I can see. No, it does look like the National Weather Service is about ready to update us on that tornado warning. But they are expiring, as mentioned, that tornado warning for San Antonio. Just a reminder that the tornado threat for San Antonio is now done. If you live in the San Antonio area, if you live in Bexar County, you are no longer under a threat for a tornado. Now all that is left, as the storms are actually exiting Bexar County, is flash flooding. We are seeing flooding ongoing on the roads, but I cannot emphasize this enough. If you are in Guadalupe County, if you are near Seguin, and pretty much point south of I-10 in Guadalupe County, you need to be indoors and away from windows. That's your safe place for any risk for tornado. But everybody in San Antonio and Bexar County, you are clear of the tornado risk.
And it's winding down in San Antonio. But here's another point. Even though in San Antonio, where we have this green color, the lighter rain, the softer rain, not as heavy of rain, you can still have loud thunder and lightning. Notice these lightning strikes, even where it's not raining on the backside of the storm. Those are cloud to ground lightning strikes, Bandera to Medina Lake, all the way down to I-35, past Highway 90 to I-35, Somerset, because you can still get strikes even where it's not raining. So what I'm saying is it can still be very loud, even though the rain has since passed your area. It can still be a little loud because of some of those lightning strikes. But it looks like we do have a little update to this warning. I think they narrowed it a little bit.
They narrowed it to focus on that area of
yes.
location you were showing.
So outside of necessarily Seguin, but Duggar and then Belmont. We can put a timing on it for Duggar basically right now. Belmont, roughly 11:03 p.m. Let's say 11 o'clock for Belmont is when that circulating part of the storm and the potential tornado would, make it to Belmont. But I think generally, just like this new polygon south of Seguin, Duggar to Belmont, and along 123 south of Seguin, by just a handful of miles is where we have the potential tornado within this storm. And we'll look at the latest shear, which is the algorithm within the computer system, and it shows an elongated area here. But I think the main focus would be down here, along and especially south of the Guadalupe River. And this will help us tell the tale. If anything, it'd be right here along the Guadalupe River. Some high winds in and around Duggar. But if there was any lasting rotation. It'd be near the Guadalupe River and just a few miles southward. Generally speaking, in this area right here, just outside of Duggar, that's then headed toward Belmont. And keep in mind, sometimes, the shear and rotation will strengthen and weaken. So it's always, warranted to keep an eye on it and keep watching that. But right within here, we're seeing some very high winds up above, higher up in the storm. Still seeing some high gusts, 58 to 60 miles per hour, higher up in the storm. And this is the worst part of the thunderstorm. Those of you in San Antonio and elsewhere, and let's go even farther down the line, you have some heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning and thunder stretching down into Floresville, Karnes City, Karnes County. Nothing threatening yet. We still look for those little notches that can form because things can change quickly, but nothing outside of just general thunderstorm for you at the moment. Wilson and Karnes County, and even stretching down into Live Oak County and soon to be B County and Goliad County, not far away from this. And I can time out some of this for those communities. We'll get back to the tornado in a moment. But time out even just some of this heavy rainfall for some communities that'll be downstream. And that would be Karnes City at 10:50, Kennedy at 10:54, Runge at 11:10, and Yorktown at 11:37 p.m. That's for the general thunderstorm activity that's away from the tornado warning. New Braunfels, Green, everybody in and around that area, you just have the heavy rainfall. Nothing damaging being detected by radar right now, just a loud thunderstorm with really some good soaking rainfall for you, some drought denting rain, but this stretches all the way up I-35 as well into Buda, Austin as well, and beyond Austin up I-35. So you can imagine traffic and issues along I-35 outside of the typical traffic and issues. And Spivey, I want to point this out again. Putting up the velocities here. I mean, there's a little
we've
notch right there.
Yeah, little notch. This to me looks like what we call QLCS tornadoes, which that's just a meteorological word for there could be quick spin-ups along the leading edge. Very brief. We do have our Avery Everett headed onto the northeast side of Bexar County along I-10 there. We have early reports of a possible 18-wheeler overturned because of wind gusts. But
on I-10?
And that's the same area we were looking at for that potential for a tornado, but that is yet to be confirmed completely. I just want to keep our viewers updated with where we're going. We've got crews out in the field there as well. And again, there is no longer a tornado threat for San Antonio. So if you are in San Antonio and you are trying to get some sleep, you're clear to do that. The tornado threat is over for San Antonio, but we do not want to forget our friends out in Guadalupe County along the leading edge of that storm system. So right now, Seguin, you're dealing with some heavy rain at the moment and frequent lightning, but the risk for a tornado is actually east of you right now, in my opinion. You're dealing with gusty winds and lots of lightning, lots of heavy rain at the moment too, but it's really east of San Antonio where Adam is pointing at right now that we have the main risk for a tornado. So areas like McQueenie, Duggar, Jake's Colony, you're pretty much in the clear. We do have this tornado warning, though, in effect for the next about 30 minutes or so.
We have some issues. What's it, downtown now? Is it Zaria shot? Somebody shot downtown.
That's TransGuide right there.
I know, but we have a shot as
good.
well. Yeah, of a car stranded, a vehicle stranded because.
Bring that up.
Yeah, Zaria. Oh, Zaria. Hey, where exactly are you, and what's the situation? It looks like you're right downtown. Is that right?
Hey guys, yeah, we're downtown. We're on the Riverwalk just by 9th Street. You can see that San Antonio Fire Department truck pulling away right there. Ricardo, if you come back this way, the reason they were over here is because a car is literally stalled in the middle of this road here. The people who were driving in this vehicle had to get some help getting out. As I walk into the water a little bit, you can start to see how deep this water goes into my legs. I mean, it could come up to my knees if I were to go all the way back, and I'm not going to do that. But the significant part here is that all of these cars that are parked in this water here are at least a little bit underneath the water. There are lots of people that are standing out here looking, trying to see if their car is in this damage. Of course, this one here stalled out, trying to figure out what the next step is. But this is 9th Street, right near that bridge over the Riverwalk. This is the Soul Cypress Hotel is just on the other side of us. So that's a significant part of downtown. Lots of people are at the bars downtown. We're watching the Spurs games and they're all parked up and down these streets. So this is a place where a lot of people are driving and parking tonight. And so this is going to be a significant impact to people's nightly routines and getting up in the morning. I don't know if you can see down that way just a little bit further. There are dozens of cars on the street that are at least a little bit underwater. Most of those tires are about 80-90% underwater as you get further down the street, but it's blocked off on both ends, up there from Broadway down to here at Arden Grove. So this is some pretty significant flooding here. I mean, obviously the rain is lightening up a little bit, but this is going to be that aftermath that people are always worried about. Live downtown, I'm Zaria Oates, KSAT 12 News.
Yeah, Zaria, thank you so much. And she wasn't far from Broadway and even St. Mary's, between Broadway and St. Mary's. The VFW, just around the corner from where she was located. We're all familiar with the VFW there along the northern stretch of the Riverwalk. So if there's a little tornado right now, it would be right here near the Guadalupe River in this little notch headed eastward toward Belmont. Belmont, you're just moments away. I do think the primary tornado threat has past McQueenie, New Berlin, and even Duggar and Seguin starting to get on the backside of that threat. But it's the flash flooding that we're seeing because of the heavy rainfall. And that's when your phones went off, well, maybe 30 minutes ago. This polygon, which encapsulates almost all of Bexar County, is the heavy rainfall. Now, we're going to take a quick break just to regroup things, double check, and get some new information and check some of our equipment. We can be done on air. That's fine, and just switch it over to streaming. That's fine with me. If you just want to stick with us on KSAT.com, KSAT Weather Authority app, KSAT Plus, we're going to take over the feed there. And if something warrants, we will cut in on KSAT 12. We'll see you in just a bit. All right, if we can pop up some TransGuide shots and whatnot, that'd be great. Just show the scene around town and I see some flashing lights, I-35 at Laredo on the lower level. That's not good. That usually indicates a stalled vehicle. and an expensive repair as well. Even though that kind of water won't sweep you away in the lower levels, it's still going to be a very costly repair. Otherwise, what we're watching here is what seems to be more of turning into a straight line wind event, with some high winds from Kingsbury down to about Leesville, and that's headed toward Belmont. This is all east of Bexar County. We're talking Guadalupe County and almost Gonzales County as well. Almost Gonzales County. But on the right-hand side of your screen, those of you with us on KSAT Plus and the Weather Authority app, we're tracking the worst part of this thunderstorm. That's now just east, basically east of Seguin is the worst part of that storm in this purple spot. These purple areas, those winds have picked up a bit. And that's about 830 feet up into the storm where we have those 60+ mile per hour winds I just showed you. Let's get a different view here. See, now it's just a lot more linear. And you can still get those little couplets at any time, like we were talking about earlier. Anytime you can get those little couplets to form, and they're usually pretty quick with these systems. The QLCSs are usually brief spin-ups. All right, let's go to Avery outside Kirby, and I'm just curious if you see any branches down or anything like that, any signs that, a storm came through other than, of course, the wet roads and the obvious. We have some flashing lights up ahead. All right, let's go scope that out. Could be some down lines. Got to be careful. Avery, take it away for us and let us know. It looks like a fire truck, right? No, ambulance. Okay.
Yeah, it's an ambulance. Let me just double check. Yeah, can you see that, Matt? Does it appear to be an ambulance or a fire truck? So we just got to Kirby. It's an ambulance, and there's a police car further down the street. This is on Gibbs Sprawl Road. We got off 35, we came down Rinneman, and there were definitely a lot of areas of flooding. Those low-lying areas had water almost completely across the roads. A couple of points we had to turn away. We are now approaching Kirby. There are, we saw a few tents that were down, some road signs, some election campaign posters, as you can see from our camera, are still standing. I haven't seen too many branches at this point. Why don't we turn left, Matt, just sort of approach where those police lights were earlier, but that was an ambulance on the road. We haven't seen any roads closed at this point. Yes, there have been blockages, there have been water across the roadways, and that's when we've turned around. But no closures at this point as far as we can see. We just got to Kirby really within the last 5 minutes. Like I said, we came off 35. 35, there wasn't flooding on the levels that we were on, and that was 35 near Windcrest and headed towards Converse. So now we are here on, I believe this is Old Seguin Road, and we're going to turn left to see if we can see any more with those police lights. But they might have headed out. We can't see them from this angle. Nope, they're still there. We can't tell exactly why. It didn't look like that road, there were any blockages on the road, but we're here, off Old Seguin Road onto Gibbs Sprawl Road. And just that section of the roadway is closed. It doesn't appear anything's blocking the street. But like I said, a few downed tents that were up, some branches here and there, definitely flooding in low-lying areas or areas that are lower, like some of these driveways where it's just full of water, pools of water, and then some of the lower-lying streets. But that's all that we're seeing out here right now. We're going to continue to drive around this area for the next few minutes. Sarah, I'll send it back to you in the studio for now.
All right, thank you so much, Avery. You can see what we're highlighting right now are the wind potential here on the authority radar. The wind potential still showing that broad area here. It traverses quite a few miles. Let's go ahead and look at how long this is. You see these purple colors from south of Kingsbury all the way to the Gonzales County line. That's 12 miles of potentially damaging winds here. We're looking at wind gusts of up to, I believe it's up to about 60 to 70 miles per hour. We're going to go ahead and clear this off so you can see here as I sample these. Wind gusts of I think, yeah, about 65 to 70 miles per hour, heading toward Belmont, heading toward Highway 80, I believe that's what that is there, towards St. James, south of Luling. We still do have this tornado warning in effect until 11 p.m. We're about 10 minutes out from that being over or reissued. And it's mainly just because along this line here, the leading edge, you can get quick spin-up tornadoes as these move off to the east. Now, they're usually weaker tornadoes, but a weak tornado is still a dangerous tornado. And so everybody, if you're in this tornado warning area, you should be indoors and away from windows. However, if you're near Seguin right now, your biggest risk at the moment is from some gusty winds that are occurring. I'm going to go ahead and clear some of the warnings so that I can keep a better look at this for you. Clear these, clear the lightning. There's lots of lightning with these. You can see that even near Seguin right now, we're still dealing with wind gusts of up to 50, 55 miles per hour. And it does look like we're still seeing some gusty winds in San Antonio of up to 50 miles per hour. But as we look at the current radar image, you can see that what we're dealing with right now in San Antonio is just some light rain and some lingering lightning. The problem is we've had so much rain in the San Antonio area. I want to show you this warning again. It does look like they've allowed that tornado warning to expire. Is that correct, Adam? I can see that it's not on here anymore. National Weather Service, see what they say. But the biggest, now it's been replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning into Gonzales County. And this makes sense for straight line winds of what I would say are up to about 70 miles per hour. So we no longer have any active tornado warnings in the area. That is good news. But what we're left with and Adam, if you could do me a favor, if you have time, update the weather article to reflect that there's no longer a tornado warning. You can see that we've got a flash flood warning in effect until 1:15 this morning, tomorrow morning in San Antonio, because of how much rain we've seen. And as we look at how much rain we've seen, as I clear everything off of here, the amount of rain is pretty staggering. Let's take a look at the amount of rain in just the last couple of hours. You can see that many areas around San Antonio have seen at least 1 inch to 2 inches of rain. Now, in a normal rain event, if we haven't had all of the rain that we've had recently, which is a good thing, the ground is completely soaked, so any additional rain is causing this flooding here. And I can actually show you on the TransGuide imagery here that, well, they've turned this camera around, unfortunately, but on the lower levels of 35 where this camera is, here we go. Let's see, they've turned it around the other direction, but in the lower levels, we have got some ongoing flooding there on the lower levels, and that makes sense. So as we look at the current radar and just kind of assess where everything is, you can see that here in San Antonio, we are now starting to see the rain come to an end. It is still breezy, it is still windy, and we are still dealing with the residual effects of flooding. So the water is going to take a while to drain off. The most dangerous part of this storm is right here approaching Gonzales, and that's capable of damaging wind gusts of up to 80 miles per hour. But I want to check in with Zaria because she's seeing some cars that are stranded because of the high water. Zaria, what more can you tell us? Earlier you were telling us that a crowd was gathered out there trying to check on their cars. I can see behind you, it does look like we have a tow truck on the scene.
Hey, Sarah. Yeah, we're here on 9th Street in between Broadway and St. Mary's. And one of the significant things here is that one of the cars that was stuck in this water is now stalled in the water. There's actually a car, I'm going to come this way a little bit. There's actually a car that was driving past the area and they were about to go in the same direction, even though there is a tow truck here. And he's saying, turn around, don't drown, which is exactly what we tell you guys at home. But back to the situation at hand. The big thing here, how they ended up in this situation, the man who was driving tells me that they were driving down this street here on 9th and they couldn't see anything. There aren't street lights in this area. When it's not lightning, it's really difficult to see. We have lots of lights set up here. Of course, there are some police officers and there's this tow truck all with lighting on it. But when these aren't here, this is a pretty pitch black Black Street. And if you've ever driven in this area, it's near the Soul Cypress Hotel. It's near La Honky Tonk. It's near El Camino. It's that area of 9th Street between Broadway and St. Mary's. It's very dark. So what the driver tells me is that he was driving down this road and he couldn't tell that there was water. And then once he could, the water kind of suctioned the car in. And he was like, maybe I can make it, and continued to go. But that's where that turnaround, don't drown comes into play, because it was so significant that he could feel it initially. That's when you want to just back out of this. But the big thing here is that everybody who was in the car is okay. It was him and one other person. They both got out. They are having this car towed to their home, and they're going to figure it out from there. It's not clear how much this is going to cost them, but that car is so underwater that it doesn't move. They're physically having to remove it from where it is right now. Another part of this is just how deep this water is. If we can walk up a little bit, me and my photojournalist Ricardo are here in this area, and we actually drove through some of the pouring rain earlier. So I want to show you, as I step into this area, just how deep this water goes. And I'm walking away from the camera, my back's to the camera, so that I can kind of see where I'm going. But here, I'm not even close to where the deepest part is, and it's already to the top of my boots. And so that's going to be a really, really big thing to look out for once you start driving into those deep parts of water where the current starts to pull you, where the water feels like it's coming into the tops of the tires. Do not go further into the water. I know it sounds silly. Sometimes it feels like you can go through it, but Exhibit A through Z is this entire street, and you can't do that. Now this line is about to try and pull this car. I don't know if you can see this line here. It's going to try and pull this car out of the water here. I've never seen this done firsthand, so I'm not sure if we want to stay on this for a little bit, but I think it is pretty fascinating to see how they're about to get this car out of here. And there are still police officers blocking this stretch of 9th Street, so hopefully there aren't more people who try to come down here. But if there are, they shouldn't be able to get around these police officers stopped here. But as we saw, one car was able to get past the police blockade. So this is just a really unique situation here. Of course, we have a serious flooding problem in San Antonio, so it's not the first time for this, but it is something that a lot of people are dealing with. And you know, people don't really realize how serious turnaround, don't drown is until you're in that situation. And so this car does appear to be moving forward quite easily with this contraption on the back of the tow truck. And if you've seen this happen before and it's just me that's the first time, sorry to tell you that this is my first time seeing this. So, I mean, it seems to be coming up pretty smoothly here, and they'll have this towed back to their home. Unfortunately, this is the person who was driving's brother's car, so this is family situation at this point, but thankfully, again, everyone's okay. We did speak with the people who were standing over at that apartment complex, kind of watching this all go down. They said none of their cars are parked on this main road. One person's car parked in another lot, but we were able to go see it, and that car is okay. It's on a little bit higher of ground, but I mean, the wheels in the front are just skidding across the road here, so that's going to cost a pretty penny, and that is not ideal. I mean, water just flowing out of the back end of this truck right here. This is not something that you want to be dealing with, especially not in the middle of your week. We can still see quite a few people watching over there. We see some lights turning on this car down here. Not sure if that's going to be something that people are going to be able to get out of the water, but hopefully most of these cars will be okay. I know that these two cars here on I believe the left side of your screen are pretty far underwater as well, but we're hoping for the best for these people. And of course, if you're in a situation like this, or if you have to be downtown, try not to drive through 9th Street between Broadway and St. Mary's, at least not tonight, because as we were mentioning, the reason that these people ended up in this situation is because of how dark it is out here, and that they couldn't see how deep the water was until it was way too late. And then they had to get out of the car. They called for help. They got help to get out of the car, got their pants all wet, and had to walk out, and now they don't have a vehicle. So this is a significant situation you're going to want to avoid, especially if you live downtown or in a flood-prone area. As we learn more about the other areas in San Antonio and the surrounding areas that are flooded or dealing with significant aftermath from these storms tonight, we'll bring you that information on air and online. Live downtown, I'm Zaria Oates, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you very much, Zaria. Great stuff there. That was the first time I'd seen a car being towed like that from the waters as well. So good shot there. Again, everybody be safe. I do want to point out that we still do have a severe thunderstorm warning in Gonzales County, and it does look like we have a little bit of rotation here north of Smiley. So just be aware that we are at a risk for some damaging wind gusts and perhaps a quick spin-up tornado north of Smiley heading toward Gonzales. This severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 11:45 tonight. So please be indoors if you're in Gonzales County. All right, we do have a reporter, JP, our reporter out there. JP was at the Spurs watch party at the Frost Bank Center. A lot of excited fans there. I'm a little worried for them coming back home tonight, because what are you seeing out there?
Hey, Sarah, we left the Spurs game a little while ago. Unfortunately, not the outcome we wanted. The Thunder, Oklahoma City Thunder, won that game, and the Thunder right now dominating the skies here in San Antonio as well as far as the meteorological thunder. We are on I-35 headed towards Live Oak, so northeast side. We're at I-35 and near Eisenhower. Right now, not a whole lot. I'm going to go ahead and change camera angles here for the top cam. There it is. Right now, not too bad. Consistent rain falling, but nothing too severe as far as what's hitting the windshield. The worst part is what we're already seeing pooling on I-35. We've hit a couple puddles, which is always a little scary when you hit a large puddle of water and you see it splash up and it kind of slows down the vehicle. That's been the worst of it so far. Obviously, if we need to pivot and go in any other direction, we can absolutely do that. The other issue was that we saw at least one small accident on the side of the road. That was near I-35 and Salado Creek, but police officers were there. It looked like everybody was okay, and they were directing traffic from 2-3 lanes down to one for just a small stretch of roadway. But right now, see, that's one of those puddles I just talked about. That's always when you get a little worried and you kind of grip the steering wheel a little bit more tighter than you'd like. But that's from the continuous rain we've seen throughout the entire night that you guys have been talking about throughout the course of the day leading into this first game and now afterwards. The rain falling right now isn't the biggest deal. I think it's the accumulation that we've seen throughout the entire day and what's already on roadways as we're making our way out. Not a whole lot of traffic, which is good for a Tuesday night at 11 o'clock. Hopefully, people who are on the roadways will be home shortly, given the time of the evening. But so far, so good, other than the pooling. We'll continue heading out to Live Oak unless you guys feel we need to go to a different direction. But so far, so good. Spurs fans, while we were in there, we're having a good time. But even throughout the course of the game, the people on the loudspeaker were interrupting broadcasts just to let people know that there was, at that time, way earlier, that there was a tornado warning throughout that course of the game, and they were warning people to stay inside. Not everybody adhered to that message, but some did, so there was warnings throughout, whether that was just your cell phone or the commentators inside the Frost Bank Center. But for now, we'll toss it back to you guys until y'all give us further direction. Sarah?
Yeah, thanks for that, JP. Again, good to know that they were trying to keep people safe, and we also know that the watch party at the Rock was canceled as well right around halftime before the storms moved through. Just a quick assessment here. We are still monitoring the risk for a brief tornado and also some damaging wind gusts moving into Gonzales County and near Smiley. Here in San Antonio, our rain is coming to an end, but we still have some residual effects from all of the rain we saw earlier. Flash flood warning remains in effect until 1:15. We're going to take a break here, get our bearings, and we'll be back to continue coverage in just a bit.